What's up, everybody? Welcome back for another live stream of Let's Get Nuts Sunday with the boys. Guys, we got a lot to talk about. As I'm building the show sheet every week, I'm always kind of like, there's like nothing to talk about. And then you start adding them up and you realize you've got probably at least 2 hours worth of showtime here. But we're going to talk entertainment news. We're going to talk Christmas displays. We're going to talk Hot Toys, InArt, potentially J&D if we get there, as well as some other things. So guys, stick around. But of course, if you like the video, or if you're new to the Ben Thomas Show, hit the subscribe button and the like. It definitely always helps. But of course, with that said, let's get nuts.
Hold on to your butts.
Come on, let's get nuts.
I give you Ben Thomas.
Showtime.
Here we go.
So of course, first and foremost here today with us, Classy Thomas has made a return to Let's Get Nuts, buddy. We haven't seen you in a couple weeks. How you feeling? How's everything going for you?
Feeling so much better. Yeah, I mean, this is better than I was 2 weeks ago. I definitely can say. But yeah, I'm glad to be back. I was with you in the chat, but it's fun to actually be back on the show with you and
Heck yeah, dude.
being able to share discussion and opinions together. I think I always look forward to that. So thanks for having me back.
I appreciate that you were watching Let's Get Nuts on your death's doorstep there for a little bit, keeping you rallied. The toughest of the nuts are with us.
Exactly. It kept me from crossing over, Ben. You kept me from crossing over.
I'm glad to hear it, buddy. I'm glad to hear it. So, and then I know we were talking backstage because Zach from Collecting Weekly has made me like a Christmas ornament of the Let's Get Nuts logo, which is really, really cool. And he sent that to you to send along with the TVA Loki that I purchased from you recently. So that's going to be an exciting mail day of both a figure and a Christmas ornament. So, guys, we got Pete on the way from Only Fools and Collecting. He is just running a couple minutes late. We're actually running a pretty small panel today because so many people are at working at collector cons like Eddie and Jose, and then Dean is at his ranch, and everybody's everywhere today. So I'm sure we'll all get a chance to connect in the coming weeks leading up to Christmas, of course. But it'll be myself, Classy Thomas, and Pete today, and anybody else who wants to join if you ever want to put your hands up, of course, to come. But Pete, or I should say Classy, with that said, let's get started, of course, always with a bit of a warm-up question here. This popped up on my Facebook feed this week, and it kind of made me laugh because to me, at first glance, I honestly thought Michelangelo was flipping the bird to people. I think they're supposed to be thumbs ups.
I hope it's supposed to be thumbs up.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. But it got me thinking, right? These things cost a fortune. I was recently there around Halloween at a Home Depot, and I saw some of like the Jack Skellington lawn displays, and now they've got the Santa ones and the the Yoda ones, the Grogu ones, all that kind of stuff. And these things range from like $100 to some of these are like $500.
What?
Some of them as much as a collectible figure out on your front yard, where I would be worried somebody would just make off with it at some point.
Really.
But if you could choose any character to have in light display, like the Ninja Turtle flipping the bird here on your front lawn, who would you choose?
All right. I'm going to say that's a bit of a loaded question for me because the last couple of years I have been kind of bah-humming it a little bit, humbugging it because when I was a kid, Christmas, I was all in it. I was the one who wanted to put up the tree. I wanted to do all the decorating because I just loved to look at it. And then as time progressed, I realized, hey, I'm the only one putting up the decorations. Nobody's helping. And then when Christmas is over, I had to be the one to take everything down. So I said, so I started thinking, every single thing that I put up, I have to take back down. So last year, when my sisters came in for Christmas, I actually had gotten sick again, and I was not feeling up to it. And so I was like, look, I said, I don't feel like putting up any decorations. I hope you're all right. And they said, oh, that's fine. Don't worry about it. We just want to be together because we have been separated for several years because of COVID. So when they came in, I said, well, I need to do a little something. So what I did is that I had a nice little table. And I had also a little statue of, I don't know if you ever watched Dragon Ball Z, but you know when Goku turns into the giant monkey. Well, I had one of those statues of the giant monkey, and so I put it on the table, and I told my sisters and my niece, I said, "Well, this is the Christmas table, and this is the Christmas monkey. We'll put all of our presents underneath the Christmas table." And they were like, "No, I said, he doesn't even have a Santa hat on." And I was like, so if I were going to do something, I think I would put a Christmas monkey, the Goku Christmas monkey, out on my front lawn, and I would put a Santa hat on him just so everybody could say he was in the festive.
Goku Christmas monkey.
The Christmas monkey.
I love to hear. I thought you were going to say like an inflatable Grinch or just something that's,
No. I got to go Dragon Ball Z all the way, man.
That's fair. That's fair.
How about you?
I could totally envision like a Christmas lit Neo. So, when people would pass the house, it would be like, Ben's got the one on his front yard. I think that would be kind of fun. I'm also a huge Batman fan, very obviously. So some kind of Batman themed one, whether that was like some big like bat signal, I think that could be really cool. Like if you could get it on your roof, that would be really fun. But I don't know. Let us know, guys, what you guys would put on your front yard if you could get anything you want in Christmas lights.
Now, Ben, speaking of your Neo, what would be really cool? If you did it in lights, and you know how he would do the thing where he bent back in slow motion? Have the light display where it would flash light and then be flashing him leaning back like that. Wouldn't that be cool?
Dude, how have they not done that yet, actually?
I don't know.
That's actually a really cool idea. I feel like they could 100% figure out a way to make that happen.
Yeah, and
that is awesome.
And while he's going back, they could have Santa's sleigh flying over him like he's trying to duck to get out of the way of Santa.
Yeah, and because I know Pete as well as I do, and he's not quite here yet, I would imagine Pete would say something along the lines of Indiana Jones. Maybe Star Wars, but I could envision an Indiana Jones on Pete's front yard. So, guys, let's move on because we got lots to talk about. I'm going to check in with the chat here in a couple minutes as people roll in. I did want to highlight something kind of fun. So this past week, I reached out to Dean the Dream Martin over on Collecting Weekly because he does a lot of his own artwork, and he helped me develop the Let's Get Nuts logo recently for the show. And I wanted to do something that if people ever want to be more of a specific member of the Ben Thomas Show, this gives you the ability to set yourself apart from just maybe the average viewer if you want. I kept the price at $1.99, mostly so I could pay Dean back slowly over time. But for some member custom emojis, if it's something that you're interested in, you get the LGN, you got the Nuts Can, and the Jumbo. So, of course, I'm always doing this on screen everywhere I go. So now you can have a Nut Jumbo if you'd like.
I have to tell you that I'm impressed. This Nuts one is 3 pounds and 8 ounces of nut. My God,
the tough
that's
nut.
That's a lot of nut, man.
Exactly right.
You are the man. That's why you get the Magnums, huh?
Oh my God, I don't know if everybody knows that story here yet. Jesus. And then, if you pay the $1.99 and become a member, not only do you get these custom emojis you can add to the chat as things progressively get more nuts, or you want to say Jumbo to us, but if you are a new member, you can have a little nut member badge beside your name. After 6 months, you've become, in my heart, the Dark Nut. And the 6-month plus button, you are a Batman themed nut. So if that's something you're interested in, guys, it's there and available for you now. Certainly no pressure, just a fun way to add to the streams, especially the Let's Get Nuts streams. And again, I got to eventually pay Dean back for these bad boys. So thank you to Dean, the Dream Martin, for that. I'll show these again at the end of the show for anybody that might have missed the beginning. We've got Pete here from Only Fools and Collecting over on Collecting Weekly. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining in.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. You've been busy there, man.
Yeah, I've been busy. I got up at 8 o'clock this morning, my time. It was still dark out to jump on the Bargain Bin Bros over on Marco's channel at 16fix because he just hit 2,000 subscribers, which was awesome. He gave away a blurg, which was really, really cool. So if you guys missed that stream this morning, it was a really fun show. I was really tired. I ended up going back to bed for 3 hours in between just so I could actually have some level of nut energy for this particular show. But Pete, it's great to have you back, buddy. This is going to be a bit of a shorter show, hopefully, today, just because we've got the three of us. So hopefully we can keep you to the end, because I know it gets pretty late there for you.
Yeah, no worries. Cool.
I already answered for you, but I'm curious if I was correct or not, because you weren't backstage when I said it. Earlier at the warm-up, we were talking about front lawn displays. And if you could have any character in lights on your front lawn, doesn't matter how complex it would be, what character would you put on your front yard in Christmas lights?
R2D2.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
You were right. He said
That's a-
he said it's either going to be Indy or Star Wars.
I said it was Indiana Jones. Probably so.
I was just thinking what would look good in lights.
There you go.
R2 would be great, wouldn't he? So
R2 would look pretty
yeah.
cool. Absolutely. Dean Martin in the chat with us here. Thanks for those member badges, buddy, and the custom emojis for everybody. That's awesome. Appreciate
Awesome
that.
job, Dean.
Yeah, really, really fun. I, in particular, really like the Jumbo Nut and the Dark Nut. So, that's awesome. Guys, let's get into some entertainment news before we get into the figure news, just as we always do. We have about 21 people here. I'm going to wait about 5 more minutes after this topic. I'll say hello to everybody as they've rolled in, of course. This came up this week, and I'm really, really excited about this. But oddly enough, because I think for many, many years, I don't know how you guys feel about video game adaptations in either television shows or movies, but most of the time they're kind of horrible. Like, most of the time. And even though they can be some of your favorite video games that exist, the show is always kind of just lackluster, not so great. Recently, we got The Last of Us, and that was one of my favorite shows of all time, and equivalent to one of my favorite games of all time. And Fallout, including, or I should say more especially Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4, are some of the most time I've ever actually put into a video game. And now Fallout's coming to Prime on April 12th in the new year. And some of the images we're seeing here look really cool. Like the power armor, that looks like straight out of the game. Ghouls are here obviously now. Ghouls, if you're not aware, are characters within the game that have essentially been gifted, I want to say, extended life. But as a result, they've lost features, things like noses and stuff, and they become very wise.
Shit ton of coke.
No, thankfully that's not the case. So, yes, no, he's still he has a no nose for a reason. He is a ghoul. But some of the imagery that I'm seeing from the show even is just like, to me, feeling really straight out of the game. So Pete, I want to go with you first. Have you ever been a Fallout guy, and are you excited for the show? What are your thoughts there?
I think I played one of them. I think I might have played Fallout 4 for a little while. I didn't really get into it, and that's not to say that it wasn't. I just, at the time I didn't get into it, but no, but I know a little bit about the, the universe and the kind of like the Nukem stuff and the power armor and things like that. Because I know there have been a few figures out, haven't there, of the power armor. I'm not sure who made them. Is it 3-0? Someone?
I don't think it was 3-0.
Yeah. So it all looks really cool, and I'm always up for a bit of a kind of dystopian kind of future series. And I think obviously Prime can do it justice with their money. So unlike the dog with the hand in his mouth. So I'd definitely be up for it. I think you're right. I think that quite often video games get a rough ride. TV wise, I think Resident Evil's a good one there, where they've had some some of them early movies were okay, but they weren't really. Yeah, but they didn't really feel like the game, and that there was that recent TV show that was really bad. So yeah, no, I welcome it, and I'd certainly give it a watch.
Yeah, Resident Evil's definitely on my mind, but then you think about Prime having the dollars recently for that Lord of the Rings show, and while I think some people did like it, it did fall a little bit flat.
I quite liked
for
it.
me.
Yeah.
You did like it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did like it. Yeah.
Okay.
But not to say it was fantastic.
Sure.
But
Not that it was a video game, but still just kind of like even at least a book adaptation.
yeah,
right?
sure. I mean, you can have all the money in the world, you still need to do a decent job. But yeah, no, it's it was good.
That's awesome. Thomas, what about you, buddy? I know you said you haven't played the game specifically, but obviously in terms of post-apocalyptic content, is that something that kind of gets your juices flowing? Is this something you would try and tune into? What are your thoughts?
I think I would watch that. When it comes to things like any type of program that shows the decline of society and how people respond, like in particular the zombie shows like The Walking Dead and these other dystopian types of things, I find them very interesting. And what I I think what I enjoy is that when I can watch one and see it take a fresh spin, where because you run the risk sometimes of all of these shows kind of one looking like the other. So I really enjoy when they can kind of take a different spin, and so I would definitely watch it to see if they're able to show me something different about that. But essentially, these shows are all about humanity and how people are. So in order for it to be a good show, it's got to be a person-driven show. But I do like how they take the decaying elements of society and use them as props. And if they just use them as props and don't let them run the show, just like, for example, I'll keep bringing up The Walking Dead, of course, because that's my show. But you would run the risk of it just being a zombie show, but that never came across as a zombie show. The zombies were just the background. They were the things like, oh, I might get in a car accident, let me get out of the way. No, there's a zombie coming at you. So they were just the props. They were the devices that give you the opportunity to see how the characters respond to each other. So I think this one would be a lot of fun to watch just by looking at the photos. So I had not heard about it until you mentioned it, but you've got me intrigued.
I think you guys will love it if they do it well. I think when we talked about this last week, any show that has money thrown at it can look really good. But something that I'm hearing kind of you mentioned, Thomas, is like the story has to be there. The characters have to have some weight to them. There has to be more to it than just the visual noise of good effects, right? I think that can only take a show so far, and that's something that the game of Last of Us did very, very well, that I thought was translated really, really well to screen. And I think that the Fallout series absolutely has that ability too. I do like that this will have a bit of a visually different storytelling than other post-apocalyptic films or shows that we've seen before, though, because of the way that the Fallout games are set. It looks very much like like straight out of the 50s. Like 50s iconography, all of that is there. But the cool thing about the Fallout world is that everything ended up turning into like nuclear-powered items. Like nuclear power is what overtook the planet right before kind of the nuclear devastation that happened, which is why there's all these vaults that these people live in and everything. But it's very like 50s, but also then with technology we've never seen before that feels futuristic. So there's some really cool elements there. But guys, let us know in the chat what your thoughts are on the Fallout show coming. Are you as excited about it as me? I'm a big nerd. I even think I'm going to go back and play Fallout 3 again before this comes. Even in Fallout 4, you were able to customize power armors. You were able to customize bases. I had a huge base built with like different power armors all over. I almost wonder if I can find a way to stream that at some point to show you guys. It would be pretty cool. But let's move on. Let us know what you guys think in the chat below. But guys, we've got a couple people rolling in still here. So I do, of course, always want to introduce the nutty folks that join us here every Sunday. So let's do so right now.
Is that everyone? I keep wanting more.
Nuts!
Assemble.
I'm sorry.
The nuts part is always louder than I expect. It's always way louder. I'm like, oh god. Guys, we got Lane Kramer first and foremost in the chat today. He says, Nutty Time countdown is going on. I'm wondering how many Cobb Vanthers are going to be on the panel. We will definitely get there for sure, good sir. We have Sith Scale Collector says, can't stay to get nutty today, but just wanted to say hello and have a great show. Look forward to chatting, or catching it, I should say, on tomorrow, So thank you for tuning in the future, good sir. We definitely appreciate you. Tirio, he says, hey everyone, have a great nut show. Love to see it. We got Mark P. Yo, Ben Thomas, good to see you here, buddy. I'm glad you made it in. We've got Action Figure Academy. It says, hey Ben, hey Thomas. It's a little bit confusing when we're both on the panel, eh, Thomas?
Really,
especially just the first two. Yeah, right. We got Mike Litoris in the chat. He says, hello, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining. We got some guy here as always. What's up? my favorite peoples. Pound it. Love to see it. And we've got Thule here in the chat. What's up, Ben? Ben Thomas Show. Good to see you here. And, of course, fellow collectors. Holy cow, we got lots of folks here. We got, did I mention some guy? Yes, I did. We've got 12-inch Moose Stream. I've got Moose here on the hunt for me, potentially, for some McFarlane Batman the Animated Series figures. I just saw he posted a Alfred Pennyworth, and I was like, ooh, where did you get that? And he's like, Target, start walking, because I've got no Targets in Canada.
What?
So, yeah, no Target here. So I may need some assistance from Moose here to be able to pick me up some of these guys, because my whole, like, you can't see it, unfortunately, from here, but my entire top shelf is all Batman the Animated Series figures. So Alfred is a must-have. We got my mom here in the chat, Rachel Millis. She says, love the Bat hoodie. Wonder who got it for you. Definitely you. Definitely you. So thanks for keeping me cool and relevant in the show. We got, well, at least I think I'm cool and relevant. Maybe I'm not. People say I'm getting old nowadays. You know what I'm saying? So we got Jose G. Hernandez, who couldn't make it because he's working the Comic-Con with Eddie today, but says, hello, everyone. Hit the like button and make sure to see me and Ben win the tag team tournament later today. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's see. Oh, no, we'll get to the slide. But 1-6 Wrestling is back this evening on Nick_Collectibles YouTube channel. And apparently Jose and I are teamed up in a tag team for fighting. So obviously we're going to win. But, you know, like I've been hitting the gym.
You going up against
I don't know yet.
Dean?
I don't know yet, because Zach and Dean won the title last time. Yeah. So I hope that I get to knock Dean down, but we'll find out. So definitely tune into that show. That's where I'll be tonight for sure.
Now, is this a video game?
Yeah, I'll tell you in just a minute, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure, because I'll bring the slide up for you. Connor is here, says, I have a feeling we will see a lot of releases this week. Give me Wanda. Yeah, the Multiverse of Madness Wanda is the one that I'm waiting for. So, yeah, 100% hope for that. Dean Martin is here, of course, with us. We got the Eclectic Collector here with us. What's up, everybody? We've got Mystery Musashi. What's up, Ben and crew? Love to see you here. We've got the man Will Foxification joining us to say Ben Thomas is a Grail human. I love you, buddy. Thanks for joining in. I was on Will's show on Friday night, actually, and that was a really, really fun show over there with Kiko Collects. So if you guys missed that, go and check that out. I think I've got everybody. If I missed anybody, you can just let me know, of course, in the comments.
And Ben, to end this off, I'm going to give something special to you.
Oh,
nuts!
Nuts!
There you go.
I love to see it. Will says, Jose, we're going to win. So I think so. I'm excited to see the outcome of that. I'll show you the slide here in just a minute, Thomas.
Okay.
But before we get there, I do want to talk a little bit about all of the rumors that are floating around when it comes to Deadpool 3. Now, I just pulled these randomly out of the internet. There's a good chance these are absolutely fake slides and not truly confirmed information. But it makes me laugh every time I see it, because as far as I'm aware, almost everybody is going to be in Deadpool 3. Like, they're going to bring back friggin' everybody, right? But these two teases, at least, did excite me. If these end up being real news, I would actually be pretty excited about this. A variant of Wolverine as Karl Urban, I think that could be a really, really fun one. He, just to me in general, screams Wolverine. If he wasn't a little bit, I think, almost too old for the role at this point to be newly cast in it, he would have definitely been one of my top picks. He might be a little tall, but he's no
Hugh Jackman. He's no older than Hugh Jackman.
But that's what I mean, right? Like, Hugh Jackman's getting ready to retire from the role because he's having a hard time staying physically able to do it. So I don't think it would make sense for Karl to come in now, other than to play just like a fun variant, like it's teasing.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going to use these for. Now with Laura, though, I mean, with Delphine, I really do hope they bring her in, because I was hopeful that I said, you know what, instead of recasting Hugh Jackman, why not bring in X-23, who is actually Wolverine in the comic books now? Why not bring her in and let her have a shine? So I'm excited about both of these. I mean, I think this will make this a fun movie.
Oh yeah, I can't believe how much she's grown up from the time of Logan to now. Like,
when was Logan? What year was that?
I want to say it was 2012, but Jose, if you're still watching, fact check me in the chat there. Fact checker Jose, there he is, right in the comments.
Where are you?
What is it? 2012? I want to say it was a while back. Anyways, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But no, I think the one thing that made me laugh. Oh, 2017, Jose says. Thank you.
Okay.
That's a 5-year difference, though. That's insane. She looks
So
like an
that'll probably
entirely
make-
different person.
Yeah, that'll make her about maybe 18, 19, I would imagine.
On this post, somebody asked, "How does she grow if the adamantium is fused to her bones?" And I'm like, because movie magic. I think
Exactly.
that is the answer. But I agree with you, Thomas. I would love to see Daphne Keane come back as X-23 because I think obviously she's still young enough that we could have a whole future with her if that was available. It's hard to know what's going to happen, of course, with the new DCEU universe, though, as well. Moving it to, or sorry, I should say, what's going to happen with Marvel reboots potentially down the line after Deadpool 3. We'll see. What do you think, Pete, about either of these just fun kind of probably not real, but maybe real rumors that Karl Urban can come back or Daphne?
Well, I think that it's quite quite feasible that she'll come back. It makes sense if you're going to have the character, and that's who played it before, and she's happy to do it. Then that would make sense. Yeah, Karl Urban. I mean, I like Karl Urban. He's cool. I can't see. I mean, there's no rules with Deadpool. Anything could happen, and that's what's so much fun about them. I mean, I'm hoping that Thomas gets to see Daniel Radcliffe pop up.
Oh, he's so much fun. I really do. I really do want to see that. I really do.
But yeah, I am looking forward to it because they're just such a riot. They're such a laugh, the Deadpool movies, and it's gonna be great. Whoever we see in it. But I mean, I say. These rumors, anything can happen with Deadpool.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder how deep somebody like a company like Hot Toys could go on a movie like Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
If there are so many of these returning characters, it's been teased that Professor X is coming back. We may see a Magneto in there. We may see a Daphne. We may see a Karl Urban. We may see so many other people who have been teased. Like, how many figures could they possibly make from this movie, including another Deadpool variant, including potentially, obviously, Hugh Jackman in his yellow outfit? There's so much potential.
Well, it's going to be the only MCU movie for next year. So they could go in hard on that movie and produce lots of figures.
That could be cool. And so many random types of variants. Like, it'd be cool to have your Wolverine display with a Karl Urban tucked in there just as a variant, or a Daniel Radcliffe, like you said. Like, I mean, obviously likeness rights are a pain in the ass, but I feel like they could make it happen, kind of like you said, Thomas, if it's the money maker in town next year. Heck yeah. Let's hope it makes $1 billion, and then we get a lot of cool toys from it.
Exactly.
Right? But guys, let us know in the chat as well, who do you hope some of these rumors are true about that we actually see in the Deadpool 3? And if so, is there a figure that you would absolutely want from some of these characters that are teased in there, including guys like Wolverine in his iconic yellow suit that we've seen teased so far? Let's move on, because this popped up as well. And again, this is, once again, one of those posts that you never totally know if it's real or not, but it makes me think a lot. So the post reads here, Norman Reedus is cast as the Ghost Rider in Blade, according to the recent report. Now, the Blade is, of course, the Mahershala Ali film that keeps getting pushed off and pushed off. It's now got a new director attached. That movie, I think, when Mahershala Ali was originally kind of cast for the role, he was in his 40s. He's now pushing over 50. He's not getting any younger. And the movie still doesn't actually have a release date yet at this point. So to me, I still kind of wonder if we're ever actually going to see that movie come to fruition or not. But if we did, a new Ghost Rider would be cool. I actually liked the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider back in the day. I thought it was kind of a fun movie, even though it was a little bit campy, but he's crazy, so he makes for a fun watch. Norman Reedus here is so typecast now to a motorcycle that it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that he's there. The only other person or actor I can think of that's so typecast to a motorcycle is Tom Cruise, because every one of his movies, he's also riding a motorcycle, right? Having said that, I could see this actually being a pretty cool take on the character. And he's got a very unique type of personality. I think he could play it well. Pete, what are your thoughts about a new Ghost Rider attached to the Blade film? And would you be happy with a Norman Reedus in the role? Or is there even somebody else that you think could suit that role better?
Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking exactly the same thing as you. I was thinking they're going to think, who's been on TV or in movies riding a bike? Oh, Norman Reedus from Walking Dead. So I think it's cool. I think he's definitely that, he's that kind of character. I don't actually think I've ever seen the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider, to be fair. and it's not really,
Really?
a character that I know a heck of a lot about. And I don't know what his connection to Blade is. Does he have a connection in the comics, or is it just?
I can't remember what the heck it's called now. Again, Jose, I wish you were here for this, buddy. There is a comic series where they are connected. I don't remember what it's called now. Right, it's on the tip of my tongue too. We'll look it up.
Dark.
We'll look it up.
It might be. It's either the Dark Avengers or the something. Not yeah, but yeah. This brings in like the supernatural, the dark, the kind of I'll call them anti.
The Midnight Suns.
Midnight Suns. Thank you.
Right,
Yes,
okay.
I knew it had something to do with
Oh,
nighttime.
nice. Well done,
But
guys.
yeah, so I mean, I think this will be kind of cool, and I think a movie like Blade would be a great place to introduce Knight
Did you say who was meant to be playing Blade?
Mahershala Ali was cast
Right.
for it.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I think that's possibly more of a controversy, because I think that Wesley Snipes did such a great job of portraying Blade. The third movie wasn't that great, but the first two were fantastic. So that's probably more of a thing for me to kind of get used to another Blade, because I think he was fantastic. But yeah, Ghost Rider's it's a bit of an unknown to me, so I'm quite happy for anyone to give it a shot, really.
Absolutely. Tremble Dust, he's here in the chat with us. He says, I believe nothing until it's official. Jose says, Ghost Rider story, hashtag not true, but could be interesting, though. And again, totally the reason I like talking about this kind of stuff on Let's Get Nuts, because it's a fun thought exercise at the very least. It's fun to think about what characters we'd like to see. Next week, I want to talk about... what's his name? The actor who plays Drax. What he might be in the next
Dave
DC
Bautista.
universe. Dave Bautista, thank you. So let's start thinking about that early, and we'll talk about that next Sunday. But guys, let us know what you think of a Ghost Rider. If it was possible to see this in a Blade film, are you happy that it would be a character or an actor like Norman Reedus, or do you have a fan casting you would rather see? That would be fun to chat about next week as well. But guys, I also wanted to talk about this today, just in terms of the video game news sphere in the world, because I took a look. I've now put in a total of, and I'm not exaggerating here, 72 24-hour days into Grand Theft Auto 5 in my lifetime. Yeah. So, do the hours on that, do the math on that. 72 24-hour days is the amount of time I've put into that game. I started that game about 10 years ago now. I think my very first picture of it was about 13 years ago. It's one of the longest running games I've ever played. I've played it now on the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4, and the PlayStation 5. And it's still going. They're still giving us downloadable content all the time. It's amazing how popular the game still is. I was getting to the point where I started to feel like we'd never see a Grand Theft Auto 6. But Rockstar Games has announced that we're going to see a trailer this coming Tuesday, December the 5th at 9 a.m., and I am so friggin' excited. I took a look back when Grand Theft Auto 5 released. It was about a 30-day window between the story mode of the game and the online component of the game. And while I loved the story of Grand Theft Auto 5, the story mode, all my time has been spent in the online, playing with, my guy friends all across the country, even recently starting to play with Dean, literally just on Grand Theft Auto 5 itself. So I'm really, really hyped about this, and I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with the game.
But Ben, I gotta ask you, how many hookers can you actually run over before it gets boring?
Oh man, so many, so many. It just depends on how many points you get. You can choose all the different vehicle types. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do. But dude, honestly, I Grand Theft Auto Vice City, I think, is still actually my favorite game of all time. It was the first game I had on the PlayStation 2, and I remember driving around that city, doing things like running over hookers and, changing your clothes and, blowing up cars, and just the shenanigans you could get into were so much fun. Now with the graphics, one of the things that I kind of hope that they can do is I hope that you can fly from one city to another, for example, as opposed to just flying around the existing current like base of city. Like you should be able to, in my opinion, I hope anyways, you can eventually get in a plane, fly from one area to another. Maybe you can go from a Los Santos to a Vice City. Like how cool would that be? I don't know if that's going to be the case. I have honestly no idea what to expect with this trailer. But I'm very, very excited. What about you, Pete? Were you ever a Grand Theft Auto 5 guy? Did you play any of the others? What are your thoughts on the new the GTA 6 coming?
I've played all the games right back from like original Grand Theft Auto with a weird top down. I think the first 2 were like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think I played the first one I really played a lot was Grand Theft Auto 4, which wasn't a great game, but it was okay, and it kind of. So I played that a lot, but Grand Theft Auto 5, I spent. I mean, I didn't put in quite as much as you. I think I put in 300-400 hours. It was fantastic. It was kind of, in a way, it was my gaming swan song because it was really the last game that I put that sort of time in before I moved in with my wife, and I kind of had to, put that stuff aside. So I don't really game a lot now. Only with my son a little bit. But yeah, I absolutely loved it, and it was one of the most heartbreaking things for me because I had it on PlayStation 3, and I was so close to. I never really played the online because when I was playing it, the online was shocking. I know it took quite a while for it to, sort itself out. So I was just basically trying to platinum the one-player game, and I think I had one. I was doing the mission where you had to go out down in a sub and collect things, submarine, and I think it was like the last one I needed. And basically, my PlayStation 3 just died. So I never got to finish it. I never got to platinum, and I just could never bring myself to start again, like on the PlayStation 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So I absolutely loved it. I was totally immersed in it, and it's they're just hilarious, aren't they? The things you can get up to, and So yeah, I would be very interested in a 6. I'm not saying that I would necessarily buy it because as I say, I don't really get time to play games, but if I was going to get back into gaming, that would probably be one of the ones that might bring me back in because I've got such fond memories of 5.
Absolutely. And you said you game with your son too occasionally, right? Is he old enough at this point, do you think?
No,
you
he's
could introduce
13, so I don't think we're going to, introduce hookers and stuff.
It's near the mark yet, still. A little near the mark still, potentially.
Yeah, but,
You'll give him a few years before you introduce him to a hooker.
He's going to wait until you go to bed and play it at nighttime. That's what I would do.
Probably.
I'm just going to go play SpongeBob. Yeah, seriously.
It'll be age locked. He won't be able to get in.
You hate to see it.
Dean says you can transfer achievements. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Can transfer achievements,
don't
yeah.
tell me that.
Tyria says, I love getting the gang together in San Andreas just to wreak havoc. Absolutely. Didn't experience the 80s, but Vice City birthed my love of 80s music.
Yeah.
The soundtrack in that game was, it didn't have any business being as good as it was, that's for sure. What are it saying here? Still occasionally drive around GTA 5 just to see it. They should have a serial killer mode from Brandon Ottoman. Totally agree. That would be really, really fun. Jose G. Hernandez says, or I think Marco calls him now Jose Plus. I don't understand where the plus comes from, but it's easier to say, so I may adopt that. So San Andreas was his. My buddy worked at EB Games when the night of the Grand Theft Auto 4 release, and we went to the midnight lineup at the mall in order to buy it. So we were there, I think, at about 10 p.m. We waited in line for 2 hours at the storefront to get our copy of the game. Raced home to throw it in the machine just to realize we would have to wait 2 hours for the thing to update before we could play it. And then we played from about 2 in the morning until about 6 in the morning. And that was a really, really fun experience. But again, obviously GTA 5 in my opinion, blew 4 completely out of the water after all this time. For sure. But guys, let us know. Are you guys hyped for this news? I cannot wait for Tuesday for not only the Collecting Weekly main show with the boys, but also to see what this trailer looks like for sure. At the beginning of the show, we talked a little bit about Nick's _collectibles YouTube channel tonight at 8 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will see 1/6 Mania. Now, Thomas, you were asking a little bit about this.
Yeah.
So basically, I think the best way that I can explain it is that he's created all of these characters from the YouTube sphere in game character mode. Like, he's done like character creations of all of us. So for example, like my character literally has a Ben Thomas Show t-shirt. You see good old Spotchka there. You see Austin Nicholas up in the front right. You see Calvin the Collector, Dean the Dream Martin up on top.
You've actually got the brand new Let's Get Nuts t-shirt.
I've got the Let's Get Nuts shirt there. Yeah,
liking
that's
that,
right. I
yeah.
didn't even notice that at first. Yeah. And he's made my arms a little bigger, so thank you for that.
Yeah,
I
he's
appreciate
bulking
that.
up. Love it.
I see Riley in there. I see Howard Chan. Like, so many of us are competing against each other, including Nick's evil twin Niche, which you see there at the bottom left. It's a really fun show. Basically, he commentates with a buddy. He commentates the show from the background. So like, just like a wrestling commentator would, and they do it really, really well. It's one of the most entertaining streams I've been on and been a part of watching. So that's where I'll be tonight. We'll remind everybody again at the end of the show for that as well. Guys, let's get into some figure news next, though. So 1/6 Kit put this post up on their Facebook this week to say, just heard from InArt team, we are tripling production team next year, and we'll be faster. So it's, this could be a nothing burger piece of news, or it could be a really exciting piece of news for InArt collectors, depending on how you see this. In my opinion, they've had quite a few delays lately. They're under the microscope a little bit. When InArt got started, they kind of were talking a little bit of shit about Hot Toys and other companies, saying, we plan to never have delay. If we say something's going to come out, that's when it'll come out. And they almost missed that with their very first release being the Joker. Some would argue that they did, but there were certain collectors out there that had it technically in the right timeline, so they were able to kind of get past that a little bit. But now with some of the recent cut releases from them, they're already having delays. So clearly this is a little bit of PR back to the collectors to say, we heard you, we're doubling up, we're going to make it better, or tripling up, I should say. Things should be faster. Pete, do you feel like this is a response to the negativity and some of the opinionated people surrounding InArt and their release schedule? Or do you think that they would have done this anyways? What are your thoughts there?
It's difficult to know. I don't think it would be purely as a response to the the community complaining about it. I think that any company that is going to start becoming more of a player in this field and is going to start ramping up. I think they were probably going to do this anyway, but obviously their release schedules are very odd. We're not used to it with any, we're used to the kind of the Hot Toys where it comes out in Hong Kong, and then you can either go direct to those sellers or you wait a little while and it comes to the distributors and stuff. That's fine, but the InArt one's a bit of a mystery where you don't really. I'm waiting for my Tyria's put there, not even close to getting my invoice for Gandalf, judging by the latest update from Kit. I don't know what that update is, and I'm a bit scared to read it really because I'm waiting for my invoice. It probably says something like it's not going to be this side of Christmas or something sad like that. So it's a bit annoying because you've got no. I've got no idea when mine will be coming. I know it's one of the later, probably later in the batch. But I mean, how many are they making? How many have they sold? How many are they shipping? It'd be nice to have some idea about okay, we expect everyone to have them by the end of March or something like that. But it's a real mysterious thing. So that's the bit of it I don't like really. I know I'm going to get it, but at least with Hot Toys, you've got a pretty good idea. Once it's out, but depending on where you buy it from, you know when you're going to get it. So it's good. It's good news. And I've also got Aragorn on pre-order. So if that kind of comes into effect in terms of his production and speeds that up and maybe makes it more of a blanket release than this drip feeding. And it's also like it's probably not, but you tend to see when you see some of the bigger names in the community getting theirs first, you think, well, is that just luck or are they being prioritized for kind of that exposure type of thing. I don't know. But yeah.
I mean, I definitely don't know. It's hard to say. I think that they're probably being selected. I think for the most part, if these folks have big enough audiences,
Yeah.
I understand it doesn't feel fair because I want mine too. I paid the same money that you paid.
Yeah.
Like, why am I not getting it first? Why are you getting it first? Having said that, there's a lot of times where, a quote unquote influencer gets a figure ahead of close to any time that I'd get mine, and it gives me an opportunity to kind of vet it a little bit. It gives me kind of an opportunity to decide maybe if I'd want to cancel it or not. Maybe it didn't get baked in the oven long enough. We're going to talk about Wolverine in a little bit there, or Wolverine, depending on how you want to say it. But that one, if it weren't for the MRC collectibles review, I was considering initially canceling, because while I was really excited about getting that figure in hand, some of the first couple pictures I saw of the release pictures, I was like, oh, what happened? Oh my goodness. Like, should I cancel? Like, is this not going to be good? Like, I don't want to end up with a dud. And so seeing it get to, like, now obviously he's an influencer that's able to actually walk into a physical location and buy it. So there's some good stuff there. He's not being selected specifically, but it still gives you the opportunity to see it. When when some of these guys that have the bigger audiences get it, like Bretta does a really good review, high definition photos, video, all of the things. And I know Bretta pretty well. He very, very rarely sugarcoats his opinion on anything. So if he thinks something's good, he'll tell you. And if he thinks it's crap, he'll also definitely tell you, which I think can be helpful for the community. But I still get the feeling of, why the hell do I have to wait an extra 6 months? And I'm watching it on your show already. What the heck's going on with that? That is a bit of a tricky element of just being on the internet, I think. Thomas, do you appreciate communication like this from InArt and from 1/6 Kit? Obviously, this has come through InArt to Kit, and he's been able to kind of relay the message. Or do you think InArt should start taking an approach more like Hot Toys, where less news is actually, and less updates sometimes can actually be better? Because I know that Hot Toys leaves us in the dark a lot of the time, but every time InArt communicates something new, we scrutinize that almost worse than lack of communication. What do you think is better? More communication or less? What do you think?
Well, I don't feel it's a matter of more or less. It's a matter of truth. I mean, you can give information, but if you don't follow through with what you're saying, then you might as well tell us nothing. So, like, if they were telling us, if they were following through with everything that they said, I wouldn't mind all the information. Not saying that I like being in the dark. I think if we as collectors have concerns or questions, they should be responsive. This whole thing of we are tripling production teams, that's lovely, but what does that mean? I mean, did you have one person and now you're going to increase it to 3? How is that going to make sure that we get our figures on time? Because I think the year I got my Joker, I want to say, wasn't it last Christmas? I mean, he didn't come out this year, did he? I think
some people
year.
got it right before Christmas. That, like, a select kind of group. It seemed like a first batch, and then everybody else got it after. I didn't get mine until the end of March.
Okay, because see, I got mine last fall, and so I thought that was when mine came through KG Hobby, I believe. And I got it last fall, so I thought that's when the main time. So all right, so between there and the beginning of the year, so really this year they've only released 2 figures, but the company's been around for what, 3 now?
Yeah, I guess in terms of their inception,
Yeah,
2022. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean they can't do anything but improve now. So hopefully they will be, if they're tripling your production team. Great, that's wonderful. Next year we'll be faster. What does that mean? Does that mean that we can count on you, that you're going to be getting these other releases to us, like Pennywise? What about the Batman? If I start seeing for me is believing. So if it starts happening, then that's great information. But I'm not holding up any hope until I see it, because just like, all right, and this is the, I'm just going to bring up the pants, Gandalf's pants. It wasn't a big deal for me, but it was a big deal for Zach and maybe other collectors. And my thing is like this, is that if you want to be the premier, the person who real the team that makes the best figure, make sure it's the best. And if and don't, you can't really compare yourself to Hot Toys. They're a manufacturing
Behemoth.
behemoth. Thank you. That's that you can't help but expect them to crank out product for us. And even sometimes they're a little bit slow on the take. So I get that it might be a little bit slow, but just be honest with us. You know, if you're tripling your teams, wonderful. So that just say we're tripling our teams. We hope that we will be able to get it to you a little bit quicker this year. But don't just send it to Kit. Why don't you post it to your Facebook page where a lot of people are there? Let us as the collectors read it for ourselves.
That's interesting that you mentioned that too, because I appreciate Kit posting this, right? I appreciate the fact that at least he's getting some kind of heads up that he's trying to relate to the collectors. It would be nice to have more direct messaging from InArt, or have these guys make their rounds again on the channels and talk about it a little bit more, so we could hold it to them a little bit more aggressively. Whenever somebody says we're just going to be faster and hope for the best sort of thing, that to me feels a bit like a bold strategy.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
So I'll be curious to see what happens with this. But guys, let us know in the comments, of course, below. Do you guys feel like an increase in production speed is a good thing or a bad thing? Do you feel like that could mean less attention to detail in QC? Do you also think that more messaging from InArt is appreciated, or do you think it should actually be less unless it's impactful communication? So like Thomas was saying, truthful information. This is a fact. This is what you can rely on. Here's the info.
And
or don't tell us at all.
To be honest with you, you know what would have been more impactful if they had never released a statement, but just tripled their team, and then all of a sudden we were getting things faster. And then they said, "Oh, we hope you hope," and then posted afterwards, "We hope that you're enjoying the quicker response we had. This year we decided that we were going to triple our production team." So, and then that way the collectors are like, "Oh wow, they listened to us. Wow, we're getting it much faster." But now they basically made a statement that we can hold their feet to the fire on.
Definitely.
So it would have been smarter for them just to do it and then tell us later.
Definitely. Ricky P joins us live. Thanks for joining in, good sir. Says, I got my Jokers in late May, still waiting on InArt, Pennywise, and Gandalf. For me, I'm really still waiting on the announcement of the Batman, Pattinson Batman. I've got the premium version, I think, of that one, where I think that's what it was called, which it has the sculpted hair for the actual Pattinson. I don't think I'm going to display the head, though, all that often. I think he's going to be in cowl for me most of the time, so that's the one I chose. I'm really, really excited for that announcement.
Didn't that one? I thought that one was. Didn't you get the two separate bodies? The clothed, the one in the outfit and the one in the bat suit, or
I think that was a version that you could get. I think the one that I got, from my recollection, I'd have to almost look back now because it's a year ago that I pre-ordered it. Like, it's crazy. But no, I think for mine it was just the head sculpt to go on the cowl, because he's got the black around his eyes.
Oh, that's
so you wouldn't put that on the suited version or the funeral scene version, I would say. So, but yeah, guys, let us know what you think. Trouble Dust says, as long as the speed doesn't affect the QC, I'm good. Totally agree. And actions speak louder than words. I think that is a true good point there as well. And then Tyria, like your point as well, classy Thomas, you'll love to see it. Guys, we got about 30 people watching live right now. Thank you for joining in on another Let's Get Nuts Sunday. We definitely appreciate it. I mentioned at the beginning, there is a membership now available to the Ben Thomas Show. If you're interested, we've got custom nut badges that can go beside your name depending on your member level. I kept it at one member level, $1.99 across the board. It's just a fun way to differentiate yourself as one of the nuts every Sunday from just the folks that tune in occasionally. If it's something you want to do, certainly no pressure, but it's available to you guys. Let's move on here. We've got a coming soon post from Present Toys. Now, I'm a huge Matrix 1, 2, and 3 fan. I really hated might be a too strong of a word, but I really disliked the newest film. I really felt like it didn't need to exist. I wish they hadn't even made it. But I can pretend like that one doesn't exist. When I think about the Matrix, for me, honestly, Matrix 1 and 2, Matrix Reloaded, were two of my favorites. While, some of the CGI now looking back at the Matrix Reloaded has, some janky features to it, especially the big park fighting scene with all the, the Agent Smiths. It's still a really, really fun movie. And I've got the Matrix 1 Keanu Reeves behind me right now that, I think could at some point here use a reissue just from Hot Toys to begin with. Like, it's a good figure. It's a good likeness to Keanu. And because I don't have another Keanu to kind of compare him to, he's even better. But I definitely think that they could improve the paint applications and the way that figure is put together. Yeah. With present toys here, though, they're at least right now teasing, in this image, a Trinity and, of course, a Morpheus. Mm-hmm. And then we got a chance to see what the Morpheus might look like. Good name. And the Sage Mentor is what he's called. Yes. My first thoughts, the left photo with the glasses looks pretty good. The photo on the right does not look like Lawrence Fishburne at all.
Well, actually, I'm gonna give if you look at the from the eyebrows down to the nose, like if you're covering up that part. That actually, because I've seen lots of photos of Lawrence Fishburne, that part looks like him, but there is something, you're right, that's off about that. I don't know what it is, though.
It's something that's a little lost in the details, for sure. With the glasses on, though, it does look pretty solid. And with the red chair being displayed there and the table, like, I would 1000% pose these two together, sitting there, the blue pill, red pill scene, right? But also, we're looking at a potential Agent Smith, a potential Neo, and a couple of the other characters in here as well.
Like those are the twins, the ghost twins.
Is that the Frenchman's wife on the one side here? I couldn't quite tell, but I think so. I think so, potentially.
Yeah.
And
I'm
a
sure
Trinity
that those
in
are
there
the
as well.
ghost twins because
Yeah, definitely.
Man, they put out the ghost twins, man. I love them. They were great.
Yeah, so Thomas, I'll stick with you then. What are your thoughts overall on Present Toys? Let's be honest, Present Toys has had some wins. They've had some misses. Some people really like the Present Toys Indiana Jones, and we've seen some other options coming from them potentially soon. Release schedule is a different factor. It's hard to know how quickly we'd see some of these come to our collections. But what are your thoughts on them tackling some Matrix figures?
I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I actually have the Hot Toys Neo, and I can't remember who made the Trinity and the Morpheus that I have. I can't remember what company produced them, and I just haven't had a chance to put them in a cabinet yet. But they were pretty good. I wouldn't say that they were like amazing, but they were really good. And so I would be very interested to see how these turned out, because I would be willing to get. I definitely want those twins when they make them, but I would definitely consider getting this Morpheus, especially mainly because of that red chair. Man, that red chair is everything.
It makes this release for me.
Oh, and he gets the blue and the red pill. Man, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
And the figure base even says Matrix, not Martrix. So that's really, really good. Yeah.
But I like it. I'm excited to see. But I would definitely consider.
Now, often though, people are saying, like you hear a lot of people say the wait for InArt, right? Wait for InArt. This is one that I kind of almost want to wait for Hot Toys on. But there's no guarantee Hot Toys is ever going to revisit that well unless they just have to hold on to the license. And then it's hard to know if they'd actually improve it all that much, or if they would just kind of reissue with a slightly better paint job to what we've already seen.
And why wait for InArt? He's bald. Come on.
Yeah, InArt for this one probably not required. Exactly. No rooting required. But what about you, Pete? Is this something that you think collectors should, if they love the Matrix, should consider going down the rabbit hole of some Present Toys line, at least until maybe other companies come out with something better, good stand-ins? Or do you think this is a nice offering?
Yeah.
Something that should be
Can I just
considered?
ask a question? You've got two different
course.
figures there, I think, haven't you? Because you've got present toys and you've got the fishbone toys.
The fishbone toys, yeah.
So
Yeah, the
that
fishbone
one
toys one
on
is
the left is the present toys, and the one on
is
the
the
right
left.
is the fishbone.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying that for
No,
me.
that's okay.
Yeah.
I definitely think the present toys looks better.
Mm-hmm.
Fishbone, yeah, they did the. I think some said they did the Agent Smith.
The Agent Smith.
I don't really know anything about them at all. I've not had any of their stuff. I'm quite a supporter of present toys, to be honest. I know that a lot of people complain that they don't think they've got anything out and everything. They have. I think when they first kind of because they've not been around for long, only probably 2-3 years, and they have obviously solicited a hell of a lot of stuff. And there was a period where they did play a lot of catch up, and on OFAC, I used to kind of do a tracker thing because it was stacking up. They had so many. But I think they're on. They're back on. I had the Indiana Jones. I mean, I ended up only keeping a couple of the bits of it, but it was a solid figure. It was okay. The figure that I have got from them that I really love is the Clint Eastwood from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Really good, really good figure. Much better than I was expecting, to be honest. And you're only paying about £140, probably $180, I suppose. Thomas, I don't know what it would be in Canadian, but their
But Pete,
prices.
You said it was
Yeah.
good, but was it bad and was it ugly?
No, it was good. You could buy the bad and the ugly, but I'm not. They're not as good figures. So I'm just going to stick with Clint. But in terms of the Matrix, I did enjoy the original film when it first came out. I think mainly because it was just so groundbreaking with its effects and obviously the bullet time. They created something that everybody copied. I really enjoyed it. I don't have any love for any of the others. I've never even watched the recent one because everyone said how shit it is.
Yeah, don't
but
waste
I
your time.
wasn't really a fan of 2 and 3. I felt that the original one was almost a perfect movie. It was so good, and then the others just kind of just went a bit too off piste for me. And as you say, I think it went too CGI. And it kind of and it probably does look quite dated now. So I kind of see the first one as a encompassed on its own. It's not a film that I love enough to want figures for it, but I think Present Toys isn't a bad shout because at the end of the day they're wearing fairly normal clothes, so it's not particularly difficult from a clothing point of view, so it's not really a figure that you need to be paying £300-400 for, I think. So no, I do like Present Toys, and from what I've seen of them, I would certainly. Did you see that they've teased pictures of the other 2 Ghostbusters?
I haven't seen that yet.
Ray and
No.
Egon.
I have not seen that. I'll pull that up on the next
Yeah,
next week.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
tempted, but because I didn't pre-order the first 2, but I'm quite I did have the Blitzways, and I kind of but they look quite good actually. I quite like that, especially the Egon looked good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love Ghostbusters. There's no way I could have ever justified even trying to pay the ticket price for the Blitzway ones. It'll be curious to see what more we get from that. But also, I like whether it's Fishbone toys, whether it's Present toys, because we've seen a couple slides from both here. I think more Matrix representation in the collection is absolutely required. I was at a toy store the other day that had the Transcender in stock, which is another version of Agent Smith.
That's
and
the
they had
one I have.
they had that guy on for $500, and I was like, nope, too much money, way too much money. So, and I mean, it might have cost them a similar amount just to get it in. It's hard to say. So, hard to know. Collector says, any idea when this would release for pre-order? Not sure, unfortunately, good sir, but I will keep an eye on it and definitely update you guys on the Let's Get Nuts show as soon as I know, for sure. let's talk about Groot here a little bit. Baby Groot, especially. Baby Groot is finally coming to people's collections, and of course, if you got the deluxe pack, especially of this character, he has quite a few different looks, including kind of that alien clear version of himself from the one mini short episode that exists. To me, Groot is obviously now getting quite a bit larger. Even at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, you see him as kind of like, I want to call him Super Groot, but I'm sure there's a bit more of a technical term for him in that, or Maestro Groot, or I don't know what the heck you'd call him, but he's huge. He's no longer Baby Groot. I think probably, unless we see more Baby Groot Disney shorts, in the coming Christmas holidays, or, at any point really, I have a hard time expecting that we'll see another Baby Groot from Hot Toys. This might be the last one. Bro Groot, Trimble says. I like that. Yeah. So, Steroid Groot. I think if you're a Baby Groot fan, this is actually a pretty fun offering. Some people do the elf on a shelf at Christmas time. I could see you doing Groot on a shelf maybe instead.
Oh, you were meant to find something that rhymed with Groot. That's poor, Ben. Groot on a shoot. I don't know.
Groot in a shoe. That's right. You got a Groot in a shoe. And it looks like he's kind of wearing Christmas pajamas, even though that might be mushrooms. I'm not too sure. Like spicy mushrooms. Hard to say.
Yeah, it could be.
They're so cute.
I will pass on this one. I will admit this is not going to come to my specific collection because I don't really have anything I could actually put him with. But I do think he's really cute, just like Grogu, right? I mean, how many of us have wanted a Grogu in the collection just because he's cute? Some people say yes. Pete's like, absolutely not. I'm way too cool for that. So Pete, let's go. So let's go to you first, Pete. Are you going to get a cute Groot in a shoot for your?
That rhymes. Cute Groot.
Or a Groot in a boot. Yeah.
A Groot in a boot.
Yeah. No, not at all. And very much like to be honest, Groot's a great character, and I have enjoyed all three of the Guardians films and the Christmas special. They're really good fun, and he's a good character in there. But it's not something that I would want to own in the same way that I don't have a Grogu in any scale, and I don't want a Grogu. I find him very annoying. Groot, I prefer. I choose Groot over Grogu. And it's quite expensive. This, from what the prices I've seen. I know it's the early stuff from kind of Hong Kong and everything, so he's basically about 12 inches tall, but that's 1-to-1 scale. Is that right?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. Based on what I could see on the information, I was just pulling it up just to double check. But
What's he got there? They cucumber slices.
Cucumber slice, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Spa Groot Day. Spa Groot.
See, maybe they could go the way of the churro, and they become like a hot property. Those cucumber slices. I've not seen them before. Isn't there one where he looks like a 70s porn star? He's got a moustache.
There is. I don't think I got that picture, which is unfortunate. I got this one.
Yeah, that one's weird enough. But it's a very niche figure. It's a very niche figure. And I'm sure it's good. Definitely. I'm sure it's normal Hot Toys quality, but definitely not for me. No,
I think it was actually Marco, our buddy 166, that was saying like this might even be one that Gigi would be willing to let go in other areas of the house, unlike the other collection, because she thinks Groot is cute. So
yeah.
I could see it. I could see it coming. Yeah, I could see it coming to more people's collections. Maybe even just to get your spouse a little bit more involved in the collecting hobby.
Put him next to Winnie the Pooh. And,
yeah, right.
Piglet. Yeah.
Not the horror movie version of Winnie the Pooh though. What was that movie called? That was horrific. I watched that recently. I wish I had not seen that.
I haven't seen it, but
haunted my dreams. I'm not gonna lie. What about you, Classy? Is a cute Groot in the shoot or whatever you want to call it coming to your collection?
He is coming home.
He is.
To me.
Nice.
I'm getting them. I have them on pre-order, and when they said that he was being released, I'm like, oh yeah, I hope I get them soon. Because I love Baby Groot. I mean, I actually have little Baby Groots sitting on my shelves. I had gotten some from like Wish or something like that, little cheapy versions, but I just put them around because I just like looking at him, and he's just so adorable. So when I saw this with all the little stuff you can put on him, and I was like, I gotta get this Groot because I have the Venomized Groot too, and I really enjoy looking at him. So yeah, I love I Am Groot, and I'm like, yeah, I get my Groot, yay! So I'm excited. I'm excited.
Nice. Do you post photos much to your Instagram? I don't know if I've like looked at your Instagram all that
I
much.
think I have posted maybe 4.
Yeah, you gotta start going on that.
Yeah, I am not used to. I'm old, and old people don't know how to use technology. No, I'm just teasing. No,
Wow.
no, okay.
The average age of my audience is between 35 and 62. Okay.
No, I'm not used to using Instagram, but yeah, I'm gonna try to up my game a little bit once I kind of get a few things set up here around the house. But this is something I will probably, like when I get him, I probably will do a photo shoot for him, just like I had told you that I'm planning on doing a shoot with all of my Lokis. Now that I have my red chair, my Loki red chair. So yeah, I would definitely want to do a nice little photo shoot of Groot. That rhyme, Pete. I got your rhyme in there.
Photo shoot of Groot.
Photo shoot of Groot.
I'll give you that one.
The Groot photo shoot.
Well said, good sir. I'm excited to see your collection of Groots. Make sure you get a really good photo for us, and we'll share it here to the show.
Okay.
If anybody out there has some funny photos of Groot, definitely always share it to me on Instagram. It's the Ben Thomas Show on Instagram. I'm easy to find. I will absolutely add some slides of collectors' collections here, especially if it's not themed, let's be honest. We've got Reverse Zeo in the chat here, and I wanted to highlight this cool gentleman. It says, evening, everyone. I wanted to highlight this person because I had a chance to meet him very briefly at Oxcon. And while that was a very fun event, one of the best parts of that event was getting a chance to meet other collectors. Very awesome person. Really kind dude, really warm heart. Him, Collector Joey, and Austin, I met them, kind of the trifecta, and good old Spotchka, all 3 or 4 of those guys at the same time. Really, really fun dudes. Reversio's YouTube channel, I think, will explode soon. He's got some great content on there. He just had 100 subscribers, and he actually gave a little giveaway, I'm pretty confident, at 100. He's already at 142. If there's anybody out there in the chat right now or watching on replay who has not subscribed to Reversio, please go over and do that for us here at Let's Get Nuts. Guys, let's move on to the next figure here. I'm going to keep this one brief because I don't want to lose anybody. I know that Star Trek isn't the most exciting thing for most collectors out there, but for the Star Trek folks, it definitely is. Now, Strange New Worlds is, while not a terrible show by any stretch, I've enjoyed quite a few of the episodes. I don't really love this version of Spock, to be honest. He's a little too emotional. He's a little too human, I want to say. I don't feel like he's the logical Spock, that classic feel that we come to love and know through Leonard Nimoy. Having said that, Exo6 has been producing some relatively quality items, and they did give us this pre-order this past week on Tuesday for $225 plus a $25 flat ship rate. He does come with some more accessories than what we've seen with some of the other offerings. He does come with that flip phone communicator, which I really think is a really cool accessory. The pleather belt, not too sure that that's going to hold up over time, but it's the way she goes. In terms of Exo 6 releases, this comes with a ton of hands. It also has the Phase 2 phaser with the Phase 1 detachable phaser there as well, which is kind of fun. And I think that the likeness to the actor is pretty solid. If this is one you guys are interested in, typically I don't recommend always like a specific place to get Exo 6, but I recently got my Locutus of Borg from Sideshow, and it came 7 months later than the anticipated release date. It was supposed to come in February. I literally just got him like a week ago. And so that was a bad experience for me trying to wait for Exo through Sideshow. I think if you're going to go direct to the source, it seems like most people get their stuff from the site specifically pretty quickly. The pre-order end date on Exo 6's website is December the 19th, and their expected estimated delivery time is Q2 of 2024. So pretty quick turnaround there for sure. Reversio says, Ben, you're an angel. You were even nicer and buffer in person. I paid him to say that, honestly. Yeah, I paid him to say that. No, I'm just kidding. You're the man, buddy. I'm glad to be able to shout you out. All good there. So I think this is still a good release. To me, this is still kind of at least the B team from Exo 6, one of the better likenesses that we've seen. One criticism I always have is these photos are horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. For a professional company, it's getting to the point where it's hard to it's hard to advertise for them in a way. Like, not that I don't take anything from X06 by any stretch, but like it's hard for me to pump them as a really cool release when you look at these photos and they're like, they look like
sculpted butter again.
Yeah, it looks like I photoshopped it. I suck at Photoshop, you know? Like it doesn't look good. Six Scale Mafia reached out to me because he does do some figure photography. I can't share what he told me specifically, but he did say that he's attached to some of the new figures that are coming. He's going to be doing the photos for them, which I'm very excited to show the collector community as those releases come out, because I'm confident those photos will be better than what we've seen from whoever does it normally. No shade. I know that's a person's job. I feel bad bashing them so badly, but they're not doing themselves any favors selling a figure at this price point with bad photos. Thomas, I know you're not a huge Star Trek guy. I know Pete, you're more in terms of Star Trek for sure. Do either of you guys feel excited about this release, or really just the path we're seeing from EXO at this point?
I'm with you. I've quite enjoyed Strange New Worlds, but I think it's more just because of the nostalgia side of it, and the fact that it's kind of like original series, but kind of, you know, in a modern interpretation. I'm with you. I mean, Spock will only ever be Leonard Nimoy for me. You know, we've seen a couple of different people play. Well, in TV, there's been two other versions. There's been the Discovery version and this version. We've had
Zachary Quinto,
who I did like. He would definitely be. You know, my second favourite behind Nimoy. We talked a bit about this on OFAC, and I felt that the likeness is probably good if you get a decent photo of it. I didn't feel that the tailoring looked quite up to their usual standards. The jacket looks a little bit loose, and we talked about maybe the shoulders need a little bit of tightening up, and it looks a little bit chunky, if you know what I mean, like the kind of the weave of the material. And this is very much a company that lives and breathes on its tailoring. The head sculpts are touch and go sometimes. Some of them are brilliant, some of them are not great. A lot of them are kind of okay, but it's the tailoring that is really the kind of their forte. So I'm certainly not blown away by this, and I won't be picking it up. My general view of X06 is that I'm continue to be very frustrated at the fact that there still haven't been a single pre-order for a original series figure. They bigged up, did a massive teaser campaign for the Ruther Khan figures, and we got Savick. You know, I mean, they should have done her with Spock at the time, or whatever. We know we're going to get Spock, Bones, and Kirk, but when? Next gen is very, very slow. Like, we've had Data, I think, is the only one in that form that's been up for pre-order.
At least in terms of pre-order,
Yeah, so I just don't know why they keep...
Locutus, I guess, would be technically next gen as well. Yeah.
I don't know why they're drip feeding still. That, you know, like, if you love Voyager, great, you've probably almost got the whole crew. But why prioritise that when, to me, that's one of the worst series? And I know they're leaving all the good stuff till the end, but you need to give people a little bit of a reward every now and again to keep them coming back.
It does seem strange, though, right? Like, how often do we see Hot Toys give us another Spider-Man or another Iron Man or another cash injection figure, is what I want to call them, right? They're cash injections. They know those figures will always sell. Yeah. So give them so that you can do a few more of those obscure releases. It almost does seem like X06 is doing it the other way around. They're giving us kind of I want to say, slightly more obscure characters, or like the second tier, third tier, fourth tier kind of crewmates, but not necessarily some of the main ones. I mean, even Mr. Musashi here in the chat saying, I really want to know why they're delaying the Wrath of Khan stuff so
really
long. Starting to lose interest in all the Star Trek figures because they just won't release the figures they show off. There's been a ton, right? I thought for sure by now we would have the Wrath of Khan bridge crew. We did get one version, like the regular one version of Christy Alley. But again, she's not a
Savick.
main like Savick.
Yeah.
I would argue she's not a main bridge
No,
crew.
no,
Like,
no, no. And I think, to be honest, that's cashing in on people's desperation to have a representation from
because
Rafa
she
Khan.
passed away.
Yeah, also that, and obviously she's got the, she has got that iconic uniform, and I think a lot of people might, I was tempted. Oh well, I'll order it just because I want some representation of that movie. It's not the one I want, and I did resist because I felt like it was a little bit of a trap for people that were, I'll buy this one because while I wait for the other ones, and that to me didn't seem right.
Kind of a bit pandering.
Yeah, up to a certain extent, maybe. I could see
Yeah.
it. Hard to say. I do think that, like I've said right from the get-go, Next Gen is going to be the line that I collect most from. I'm really hoping any day now we see at least the Geordie LaForge, at least one version of Worf, whether that is the Picard Season 3 version, or because I liked him in Picard Season 3 a lot, or the First Contact spacesuit version, which, again, very obscure option considering we haven't got a bridge crew version of Worf yet, but I'm hoping we see at least Worf soon, and those Wrath of Khan figures, like, they better come soon, especially with the hype around Savick. So we will see. Keep us posted, guys, what you are all thinking there. Shiny says it might be good that they leave the good characters until the end because they might be getting better with their likeness over time. May as well use the practice on the obscure characters. Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people have already written off Exo-6 as a collectible company because of at least some of the Voyager line that they've seen. I keep saying in my Star Trek videos, I honestly think that there's got to be an A team, a B team, a C team, and a D team working on these. I think Voyager, while I like some of them, I think got the D team. For whatever reason, the Picard Season 3 figures, at least from what we've seen of solicitation, like pre-order style images, they look amazing in comparison to the Voyager line. Some of the Next Gen also looks pretty good, and Discovery, or I should say Strange New Worlds, again, looks better with the Pike that we saw in the Spock.
Strange New Worlds, do you see them going any further than Pike and Spock? Do you think maybe we'd get an Uhura?
I mean,
I can't see
know
them
what?
going any deeper than that, to be honest.
I hate to say it, if they do an Uhura of the Strange New Worlds version before we get an original series Uhura, I will be offended. Honestly,
right off. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really hope they don't go that route. Maybe the Nurse Chapel, I could see them doing her because they've teased her already.
Possibly. But yeah, it's just
hard to say.
I don't feel like there's any real iconic characters beyond the main two that I'd want, and Uhura that I'd want to collect. But as you say, I bet you they do bring out the Strange New Worlds Uhura before, and they'll be like, "Don't worry."
Michelle Nichols is
Michelle
the
Nichols,
one.
she's coming, but
She's the one.
You're not getting her yet. Yeah,
she's the
That will suck. Yeah, you gotta have her.
Yeah.
She's the one that started it all. She is the one that you want. But anyways, let us know what you guys think of Star Trek and Exo-6 releases. If you're new to the Ben Thomas Show, or if you're tuning in for the first time, it does seem like I'm kind of one of the only ones out there that seems to regularly cover Exo-6. So if you like hearing about Star Trek news, every Tuesday that they provide a pre-order, I try to have a video out same day of the figure preview and thoughts on that. If that's something you're interested in.
You should keep doing that because
Gonna try.
there are collectors
talking about
out there who really do like Star Trek, and they deserve to have
they'll always have a
somebody
place
to
on
do it.
OFAC as well.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they
Absolutely.
always deserve to see what's happening in their community also. Now, I'm not a huge I love the original series. That's what I consider Star Trek, and I like I liked a couple of the first movies, but I don't follow like all the spin-off series and things like that. But I do recognize the fact that, in the collecting community, it encompasses all of us, and everybody deserves to hear about things that they have an interest in. So I'm glad that you are doing that. And even though people tease you about it, my things like this, just take the teases and good fun, but you're doing a good service. So keep doing it.
I will take the teases all day. I will talk about Star Trek until the cows come home.
Good.
I've been a fan of Star Trek since I was a kid. I can't even fake my love for it. Literally, I picked up another Star Trek Playmates toy yesterday at a flea market. It's just an average Romulan, but he's cool. I like the original packaging. It's really fun. And I will say, that in terms of my YouTube comments, some of them, like the most comments that I get are from the Star Trek community. People want to talk Star Trek when you see it.
The community is huge, and I think it's not necessarily. It's never been given a good 1/6 scale. You know, QMX started it, and they messed it up. That was with working with Nanjing, and Nanjing came out being like the Great White Hope, being the real savior, and I think that's become tarnished where people we're 3-4 years in and we still don't have, you know, a Kirk. They had the Admiral Kirk from Motion Picture, but but there is a huge community, and I think that, you know, a lot of them probably don't really know about these figures and stuff like that. So there is a massive untapped market there that Nanjing has mentioned and has spoken about. But yeah, I don't think they're necessarily doing themselves favours by not going for some of the big hitters. At least get people on board. Get people to buy a couple of TOS figures, because then they will wait. They will wait for the others. Whereas to have seen nothing, they might go, "Do you know what? I'm not even going to follow him anymore." Yeah.
And, you know, and to speak on one other little thing that you had mentioned about the you said earlier about the oh man, what was that? Oh God,
they're supposed to.
All right, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
All good.
So we'll just move on.
Thomas has gotten nuts. He's
I've gone
officially
nuts.
he's officially swallowed the hard nut. He's forgotten entirely what he was going to say. You hate to see it. Let's move on then, because we still have a few more things that I want to definitely talk to you guys about. Of course, this has hit the news this week because a lot of folks were really, really anticipating this figure. I have to absolutely say I'm one of them. When we talk about collecting weekly figure awards every year, to me, I thought this would take the trophy home from me for figure of the year if it came out as well as I hoped that it would.
If it didn't come out in a year that InArt Gandalf came out, you mean?
Also that too. That doesn't really help. Yeah, especially on Collecting Weekly. I think it's a biased thought over there from Zach. But just kidding. It's awesome. But you know, I think the pre-order images of this figure were amazing. Some of the facial hair, like the chops that he had, slightly more slender in the face. The leather jacket, the base that he comes with is epic. You know, there was some controversy around the nameplate here because it did say Wolverine, not Wolverine, which was actually originally in the pre-order photos as well. And shockingly, nobody caught it back then because we were also mind blown as to how good the figure looked, right? And that's just a testament to how good those pre-order photos were. Then, of course, we got our release photos this week. And I do think the figure, the outfit, the tailoring, the claws, the base, all of that stuff still hit on all cylinders. I think that all looks fantastic. But there is definitely a downgrade here in the sculpt. They've seemed like they've squashed it slightly. The facial hair is not quite the same. It looks like Hugh Jackman, but there is still a bit of, I want to say, uncanny valley there. It's not 100%. And for me, I think the disappointing aspect of that is, you know, there's always been this, or lately in this last year, there's been this great pressure to pre-order. You know, things are going blue screen. Don't miss out. It's going to be hard to find, and blah, 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 right? And there's been that pressure on collectors to buy. You spend the money on something like this, you click the pre-order button, you pay it off slowly over time, maybe like I did. And then the figure comes out and it's not as good as you expected. And that can be a bit of a disappointing feeling because these are not cheap items. Now, when I think about figures like the Doc Ock recently, where people panned the shit out of that figure when it was released, but then people started getting into their collections and said, yeah, you know what, I actually kind of like it. It looks pretty good. I think this is going to be exactly the same way. I saw the MRC Collectibles unboxing of this recently. Shout out to MRC, awesome dude over there. And I do think the out-of-box photos and images look better than even these blogger photos do. My only final takeaway before I move to you, Pete, first will be the clothing. You know, one of the advertising features of this figure for me were the outfit swaps and the arm swaps, those really beautiful seamless forearms. Watching MRC actually not only try and take the outfit off, like by like disconnecting the little buttons and everything and trying not to rip those off to shreds and, you know, not breaking the arm at the joint with, you know, how you're properly supposed to click it on and off, read the instructions, hashtag. That looks really freaking daunting to me, to the point where I actually think I'm going to end up keeping this guy's jacket just on and probably the seamless arms off. Just put the regular bone claws on and call it a day. But what do you think, Pete? Because I still got this guy coming. I actually paid my last payment faster in hopes that maybe I'd get bumped up the queue. I don't think it works that way, but it was worth trying anyways. What are your thoughts of the Wolverine release
I'm
here?
hoping that you're not a fake fan and you've watched last week's OFAC, because we did talk about it quite a lot.
I didn't see last week, so I apologize.
shame on you.
Last week was a crazy work week for this guy. I was in Vancouver.
We did actually talk about it for quite a lot, didn't we, Thomas? Because you've got him on pre-order, and I did sort of talk about the fact that how difficult it will be to disconnect those arms. And my experience of that is purely the light up lightsaber arms in the Hot Toys Star Wars figures, and they are really difficult when you're unsighted. You're trying to put those in. Even with the shirt where it is, you still can't quite see the joint, and there is a potential for breaking it. Obviously, you've got those bone claws there. If you put pressure on in the wrong place and everything, at least you've got, because we weren't sure when we were talking, but I see that there are, when you've got the jacket on, you don't have you have different arms with the wrist pegs and the hands. But and we were debating whether or not you display with the jacket, without the jacket. The jacket was a big selling point, being real leather. I don't think it's amazing from what I've seen compared to, and I'm comparing it to very expensive custom indie jackets. I suppose that maybe that's an unfair comparison. It looks okay, but it's it still looks a little bit toy-like to me. It's not. I think it's a decent figure. I've owned a couple of Wolverines, and I've never felt like they've really nailed Hugh Jackman. You can tell it's Wolverine. It's a decent interpretation of him, but I don't think, like, when you really look at it, that they've actually ever nailed his likeness, which is a shame, because they've made so many Wolverine figures that you'd hope by this point in time that it would be absolute shrink ray. And as you say, it looks very much like he's got a bit hot and someone's just squeezed his head a little bit. I dare say that, I think, are you getting him as well, Ben?
Oh yeah.
I don't think either of you are going to be disappointed. I think when you open it up, you get it in hand, you're going to see all the stuff. The clothing, they're always tricky. I don't know if they still have those little plastic, like, press stud things.
No, they're not studs. They're actual buttons that you have to push through the loop.
Wow.
And I'm like,
enjoy that, man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't fancy that, not at that scale. But I don't think you'll be disappointed. And I think the arms look really great in the shirted look there. They look really good. And you get him in the right pose. You can kind of, you can kind of work with the sculpt. I think it'd still be a great figure, but they just missed the mark a little bit. I think, it could have been fantastic.
I think one of the other things that it highlights to me, Pete, is and Thomas, is that like when you see the pre-order photos for figures and they're just like outstanding. Like, I'm thinking about the Ahsoka line recently, where like Thrawn looks insanely good, the Sabine looks great, the Hera looks amazing. These figures in prototype form look beautiful. It highlights for me the difference in production sometimes. And I think in the last little while, we used to talk about we'd caution new collectors all the time back in the day, like, keep in mind, this is probably not what the final's going to look like. And I felt like we slowly got away from that a little bit. Like, the finals were actually coming out very well polished in a lot of figures, very similar, or if not better, than what we were seeing in Proto. And then this is the most recent example for me where I feel like there's a noticeable change from prototype.
There's another one that I think we're about to talk about.
I'm interested in your take on that then, because I actually disagree with you on that. But Thomas, what do you think with regards to the Wolverine here? Do you feel like this was a noticeable downgrade from Proto, or are you thinking it's still feeling like pretty acceptable?
I think it still looks very good to me, and it does look a little bit more squat. Now, but here's the thing that always confused me. How in the world... Now, I understand when they see prototypes and they're able to put it out there. But if you have a prototype head, which everybody says has been nailed, you should be able, the actual face structure itself shouldn't change. The only thing that should change would be the paint job. So my question is, when you get something that really works, why are you fiddling around with the sculpt? Why aren't you focusing more on the paint job if everybody's saying that you nailed the sculpt? That has never made sense to me.
No.
But I have to admit, I do like this. I'm looking forward to it. Pete, I know we had that discussion about the belt. It looks like that belt loop is a leather belt loop. I forgot that in the 70s they actually did do leather. They had leather belt buckles, rather.
Yeah, that's because we were debating. I said, "Is that? It looks like a leather belt buckle. It looks weird because it's the same." But apparently, that, as Thomas said, that might be a thing.
Yeah, because I had forgotten that in the 70s that they actually did have leather belt buckles. I mean,
Nice.
God, that's. I never had one, and I was a child of the 70s, so thank God. But I did have a leisure suit. I had several, but I never had a leather belt buckle.
After seeing some of your photos from Halloween, Thomas, I'd be curious to see more for sure.
No,
and I will say,
you'll never see the leisure suit. Sorry.
fair enough. Yeah, it's like, it's too many nuts stuffed into a blue pair of pants. Love to see it.
Probably.
I will say Days of Future Past is easily one of my favorite Fox X-Men films that have happened. Really, really fun time. Really, really good film. I will be curious, like we talked about kind of earlier in the show, guys, how much we see from Deadpool 3. I'd be shocked if we didn't at the very, very, very least see these two characters come to Hot Toys.
Oh, yeah.
If not significantly more. Just between both of you guys, and I don't care who answers first, do you think Hot Toys collectors should wait for the Deadpool 3 version of Wolverine if they're not totally in love with this one? Or do you think it's a vast difference enough between this particular version and the Deadpool 3 one?
I don't think there's any comparison between the two. I mean, they're two different figures. I mean, if you like Future Past, it doesn't preclude you from getting the Deadpool version. I'm probably going to get both. I mean, I'm definitely have Days of Future Past. Hey, what's up, Yomo? I have Future Past coming in, and when they make this one, I'll probably get this Wolverine also. Well, it depends. I may boycott it if they don't show a picture of him in the cowl.
Ooh, yeah.
For me, that is a deal breaker. I need to see him in the cowl. If he's not wearing that, why do I need to see him in the yellow suit?
That's fair.
I have no need whatsoever.
In this photo of Wolverine, or of Hugh Jackman, his head actually does look a little bit flatter and a little bit more round than the slender version that I thought. Maybe it's more accurate than we thought, guys. Although the chops, it's it's the facial hair. I feel like maybe, if you could find a custom person that could maybe tune that up a little bit, that'd be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Collection Obsession says, I think Wolverine still looks good enough to keep in my pre-order. The one I've decided to pass on is the Cobb Vanth, unless I get it at a discount. Well, funny that you say that, Collector Obsession, because I want to talk a little bit about Cobb Vanth today as well. So, Pete, I'm going to go to you first, but I'll give you my quick take here. So, this figure is too expensive. It just was. For having parts of this figure, significant amount of parts on this figure reissued, all of the Boba Fett armor, we've virtually seen this armor before. Unless the likeness rights are so extravagantly expensive for Timothy Olyphant, I'm not totally sure why this guy was priced the way that he was. I loved the character in the show, despite him not having a ton of screen time. The way that show left us, hopefully this is not a spoiler, is that we'll probably see him again. He's in a back-to-tank, which means he's got to be at least mostly alive. I'd be shocked if we don't see him again. I thought, when I took a look at the prototype images, when it first came out for order, that the sculpt felt a little on the soft side. That at certain angles I saw Timothy there, and other angles it just looked like he was a little too grizzled, a little too aged. Like there was something that wasn't like totally right. And I often do give Hot Toys too much credit. I really did think that we'd see kind of an improvement on that sculpt. I don't think we saw an improvement, but I actually don't really think that we saw much of a downgrade either. When I compared the photos side by side, it looks pretty much exactly what they solicited, to me at the very least. So for me, the deal breaker was the price point, not the likeness to the actor. Dean put this well, though, on Collecting Weekly Tuesday. Timothy Olyphant is a shockingly handsome man, and this is not a very handsome portrait of him. Now, just like we talked about some of the other figures, even in my own collection right now, the Neo behind me, the Bane, there's other figures here that are the same. Even actually my most recent T'Challa, Black Panther, the original suit. Some of the sculpts I don't totally love until I have them in person, and once it's in my collection, I'm like, that's the character. That's the character. But I've also heard the argument from people that if you don't like it, don't buy it. And I don't love that argument because to me, if you're either a completionist collector of Star Wars or you absolutely love the character, but you don't love the figure, I still think you have the license to say that you don't like it. That's okay. You can say you don't like what they gave us and still either buy it or not buy it. That's up to you. But I can still understand why people would feel upset if it wasn't what they were hoping for. Now, did you say you were going to buy it to begin with and then decided not to after seeing the final? Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to say. For me, I wasn't going to buy this figure from the get-go to answer Lane's question. But Pete, I want to go to you first because it sounded like you thought there was maybe more of a downgrade, at least in your mind, from proto to final. What are your thoughts?
To be honest, mate, I can't remember what the proto looked like. To be honest,
Let's see if I can share it too.
yeah, I definitely and you know, if you can't find it, I you know, completely agree with your view on it. If that's the case, I don't see much of the actor there at all, to be honest. And I think I said on OFAC that with the helmet, with the Boba Fett helmet on, it looks a bit odd because it. And I know he is, you know, he's quite a skinny guy, and the whole look was that the armor kind of looked big on him, was a bit loose and baggy, but the helmet looks massive, and it looks a bit like a little kid trying on his dad's suit. So, to me, if you were buying this figure, it would be all about the head sculpt. And again, it's if you desperately love this character and you want to have this, then obviously, you know, as you said, that he might come back. There might be another version of him later on. Unlikely. You know, I wouldn't say don't buy him. It looks decent. I mean, the price, yeah, is a bit extravagant. I just think it's really not a good sculpt at all. Some people aren't bothered about that because they'll say it represents the character. But you know, I think we've come to expect more from Hot Toys, and I think for me this is one of their odd misses where it's definitely certainly not worth the money that they're asking for.
Absolutely. I'm just trying to share this here. Give me 1 second and see if I can share my whole window. Let's see. This one? Share. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
So if you look down below here, the prototype on the bottom right versus the final on the left there, and then the show. I think that looks like virtually the exact same sculpt to me. It's slightly different lighting potentially in the photograph, but I think it looks pretty much the same. And then again, a version of him from the show versus the figure itself.
It looks like they carved in some more lines and stuff in his face because the prototype was a lot more smooth. That one actually does look like Timothy Oliphant to me. I think the mustache is thicker also.
The new one looks the final looks a little bit too angular, certainly in the jaw.
Yeah.
Quite squared off. I'm not saying that the proto's fantastic, but it does look better to me. Maybe the shape of his head. Yeah, just the general shape of his head. It's more natural looking, whereas the final looks quite. Even the sort of the way the head seems to come out quite wide at the top. But yeah.
I think it's close. I definitely think it's close. And again, I think if you've got nothing else to compare it to, I think most people will know that it's Cobb Vanth in the collection. I think most people want to display this guy in like the red shirt look as opposed to the armored version anyways. It's almost too bad you couldn't have got a cheaper version of him, like a secondary SKU with just the kind of stripped down, as opposed to having to buy all the armor, especially if you already owned it. It was $300 plus from my recollection, and for me with Canadian conversion and shipping and customs, that's pushing $500. Yeah. For me, that's it's way too expensive.
I think it falls into that category of you know, there's some figures where yes, somebody will come into your collection if they know Star Wars, they know who that is. But it's when you take that head sculpt away from the rest of the outfit and you show it to someone and do you know who this is? And obviously, absolutely, there are a lot of fantastic sculpts out there where it doesn't matter what clothing they've got on. Yes, I can see that's so and so, that's so and so. It was this one. Take it off the body. I think it's not a. Immediately, I know who that is. That's Tim Oliphant. So that for me it falls into that kind of category where, yes, with the whole figure and everything, it kind of works, but. Yeah, we expect better Hot Toys. Come on.
Yeah.
Now, then, the question that I would have for you then, Thomas, with regards to this figure then is, we recently saw Ahsoka. Let's call her Ahsoka the White for the sake of easy to differentiate anyways. I know that's not really what she's called. It's more of like a Gandalf reference, but let's call her Ahsoka the White. I thought the head sculpt on that looks significantly better of Rosario Dawson than the first one that we saw from the Mandalorian version. And I thought the Mandalorian version at first was pretty strong. I very much thought about buying that option until I knew the Ahsoka show was coming, and then I was like, no, I'm going to wait for the Ahsoka show for my representation. I'm kind of glad I did, because I think Ahsoka the White, her likeness to Rosario is, as I said, significantly improved. As I said, with this guy, we are pretty confident. We don't know for sure yet, but we're pretty confident he's not dead yet. I wouldn't be totally surprised if we saw him again. And with some of the controversy and heat around the likeness of this particular figure, do you think if we wait for potentially another viewing of Cobb Vanth, that we might also see an improved likeness if Hot Toys decides to give us another figure? Or do you think this is a one and done from Hot Toys? Do you think this is the only Cobb Vanth we're going to get? What are your thoughts?
I think so.
I don't really know, because I'm not that familiar with the Star Wars universe and how significant he was in it. But if he's not like a big major character, this might be one and done. And that now, of course, we know that Hot Toys is the king of reissues. So there could be a time down the road where they could reissue it for some reason, but I think that most likely it's probably one and done.
Definitely. And what do you think, Pete? One and done, or do you think
Yeah,
if people
one
don't love this, should they wait?
One and done, I think.
I think one and done.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Collector Obsession says, to me, Cobb Vanth looks older in the final
Yeah,
produced versions.
Yeah.
For me, I wanted a display without the helmet, so the quality of the head sculpt needs to be bang on, or I'm not spending $300+. And I think that's a fair thing to say. I've heard people say that that's like, collectors tap dancing around that. I'm like, no, that to me, that totally makes sense.
And Ben,
That's a lot of money.
when I looked at what came with the figure, I would have thought that this would have been a figure that would cost maybe about $275. Maybe $280.
And it's funny to me because it's like sometimes I'm like, wow, $300 is so expensive, but if it was $280, I'd consider it. And I'm like, man, I spend $20 on shit that I don't need all the time. Like a $20 differential. In our minds, I shouldn't really be as much as it is. But when we start thinking about our collection, sometimes, like you said, Thomas, that $20 difference is the difference of whether you click the button or not. Which
and
is
not
funny.
only that, just a couple of years ago, they were selling, a majority of the Hot Toys were selling for like $265, and a lot of them came with a lot more accessories. So, I mean, that's a big thing also. I mean, if it's a figure that comes with a lot of extras, I would expect to pay more. But if it's a very basic figure, and like you guys said, with parts they've recycled from other things that have already been created, I don't know how they can justify charging that much.
Well said, Thomas.
Weird.
Well said. Guys, let us know in the chat, especially, I know we've talked a lot about this through all the different communities lately, but here at Let's Get Nuts, we always try and talk about it a little bit different than everybody else. What are your thoughts on Cobb Vanth now, especially with seeing some of the direct comparison images? Do you think it would be smart for collectors who don't love this version to potentially wait for an updated version down the line? Or do you think that this is going to be one and done? This is the last time we'll see this figure. I'd be curious to see what you guys think. Obviously, unlike Ahsoka, I don't think Cobb is going to get his own show. But you never know. I also didn't think Andor would ever get his own show because he died in Rogue One and then still got one anyways. So I could be wrong. You never know. And Timothy Oliphant is a badass actor. So is Josh Duhamel. I usually get those two guys mixed up a little bit. Their faces are very, very similar.
They look very similar.
Very similar. They could easily be brothers. Maybe this is the Josh Duhamel version of Cobb Vanth, and we'll see Timothy's down the line. But let's move on. We have a few more figures to talk about before the end of the show here, guys. We've got about 25 more minutes left of the show, and 25 to 30 people watching live. If you're just joining us, thanks for joining. Let's get nuts. Hit the live like button if you can, and subscribe if you're new. Always, always appreciated. This came up this week as well because last week we saw a teaser image dropped from Hot Toys and a Japanese source at the time that showed a really weird photo of a Spider-Man that to me looked like a mishmash of about 5 different versions of Spider-Man, all kind of pushed into one figure. We saw that it had the Amazing Spider-Man logo on it, but it also had the 90s animated series cartoon logo on there as well. To me, this didn't know what it was supposed to be, which told me that Hot Toys had their pants pulled down in front of them, that they weren't ready for this to go up yet, and that it got leaked, and so they had to pivot and make it a thing faster than I think that they anticipated they would, which is why I think it's a bit of a confused release at this point. I think it was, as I said, somebody's kind of pieced this together with a vision of where they want to get to. If it happens to be the Spider-Man animated version that they're going for, the 90s cartoon version, if that's the direction they're headed, I am excited about the potential of the line, because that is easily one of my favorite cartoon shows of all time. It's up there with Batman the Animated Series for me. It's up there with X-Men, the 90s X-Men series. It's up there with He-Man, Masters of the Universe. It's up there. But another company that's done those other lines really well is Mondo Toys. Mondo has the ability, because of the way of the construction of their body, their plastic figures, they're able to cell shade those guys. You have maximum dynamic flexibility because of their jointed figures. They're not, clothed, I guess, or fabric materials put over top of a body. There's a lot of potential for Mondo to absolutely crush the line that they've teased from the animated series. Hot Toys seems like they're trying to throw their hat in the ring here a little bit, but again, like I said at the beginning, feels like it's a little bit of a confused release. So my question for you guys is, will you buy this more because it says limited or exclusive on it? Or will you buy it because it's the Spider-Man you just need to have in your collection? It's the one you've been waiting for, and I'm totally out to lunch with my thoughts, because I'm okay to be wrong. It's hard to be right, but it's also fun to be wrong sometimes. I'd be curious, Pete, what you think of this Spider-Man tease now, and does the exclusive label on it get you a little even more excited, maybe, than normal?
No, not at all. I'm not into buying stuff for kind of. I think that's very much a statue collector's thing. They're really big on that. It doesn't bother me. I think, I buy these figures because I enjoy them. It's nice if they keep their value, but I certainly wouldn't jump on it because of that. I also think it's a bit of a mess. I'm not completely sold on it. There's bits of it I don't mind, bits I don't like. I really don't like any elements of the base and the silly little goblin and stuff like that. It's don't pause. I've seen some of the it looks like that base, like some of the ones where they're just like a flat plastic bit and everything. And I kind of like the bit with the where he's got the web shooters, because that was the thing that I liked about the zombie hunter one from the What If. That if he didn't have the cape on him, he had quite a good look about him, and he had the silver web shooters. And I know people have talked ad infinitum about the white silver eyes. The silver eyes should be white. It's not for me. I've got the classic suit Spider-Man from the game, and that to me is all the Spider-Man that I could ever need. So I won't be buying another Spider-Man, but if I was, I don't think it'd be this one, because I just not really sold on the look. But
Absolutely. Shout out to Collector Joey. I saw a video on his channel recently of a customization of the eye plates on a different figure to make that figure look a little bit more comic inspired,
Yeah,
with like
that's
the brighter
classic
white.
suit, yeah.
Yeah, and that looked really, really well done. I don't know if I have the confidence to try it myself, because I'd be worried I'd mess it up. But the shaky hands, you know what I'm saying? But that was a really cool video. So yeah, shout out to Collector Joey there for sure. Reverse CEO is saying here, if I can justify it as a 90s animated Spidey, it's a must. The exclusive part is just to secure a cash grab to make sure that they sell the Spidey. I agree with that for sure. The collection obsession says, I love the 90s Spider-Man show, so I'm very interested in this line. One of the aspects of that animated show that I think I loved the most, though similar honestly even to the Batman animated series, was the Rogues Gallery. The villains in that show was fantastic. And while they are teasing a little goblin up there and behind that forced perspective, which is kind of fun, I will say, I do like that. I hope that they give us then like a full-size goblin as well.
They're all going to be tiny.
No, I don't want them
Every
to all
one
be
of
forced
them.
perspective.
They're all
No,
going
that
to be
can't.
itty bitty ones.
I would be curious to see other characters from the show though in 6 scale as well. But again, if they're going to be competing with a company like Mondo, well, I know people would be like, Ben, you're crazy to compare Hot Toys and Mondo. They're vastly different, and they are vastly different. If they're still dabbling in the same line, it offers an opportunity to compare. And I think that they will bang it out of the park if they do all of those lines. Whereas I'm not totally confident in Hot Toys on this one, which is weird because Hot Toys is still my bread and butter. It's the company that I definitely love and support, I would say, the most. Thomas, what do you think about Spider-Man here? Are these photos enough to get your juices flowing and excited about a possible comic-inspired Spider-Man, at least? What are your thoughts?
Not really. It's just a spider suit. I think the thing that gets me the most excited is the camera. That's the thing I like the most. But it's not.
The camera is cool.
It's not a very exciting figure to me. Now, the one thing that I didn't notice is that because of the slender frame, I'm assuming that they're using the Tom Holland body, and if they did, that would be interesting to kind of pair him up with the Holland figures, because he doesn't have the the PlayStation game body, and it looks like because he's a little bit more lean, it could be the Tom Holland body, depending on how tall he is. But I don't know. It's not very. I don't know. I don't find it very interesting. It's not like it's very special. And just like Pete said, I've got the classic suit Spider-Man. They're basically the same. It's not a big deal to me.
But you say that though, Thomas, and then I pull up the images of the 90s Spider-Man animated show, and like, look how jacked he is in some of these photos. Yeah. Like he doesn't have the frame of a Tom Holland. So even that is when I'm like, this seems like an amalgamation of like 5 different Spider-Man versions. Yeah. Some from the comic books, some from the shows, some from the live action. Like, it's not quite there. And I think the part that bugs me about it is not even the Spider-Man himself, because you can be a Spider-Man collector all you want and have a great time with it. If they're going to go 90s animated Spider-Man, we talked about this last Sunday, I want to see the Venom. I want to see that 90s animated TV show Venom in my collection, and that would be a figure I would truly want to be as close to perfection as possible. While the video game version of Venom that they showed recently, that's like triple the size of everybody else, is awesome, it's still to me not the Venom that I want yet. It's close, but it's still not quite
You
there.
might get him, but he's going to be tiny.
Yeah.
I keep telling you, they're all going to be no more than an inch tall. So you can put them in the background and show them with a forced perspective.
Really hope not.
There's going to be a tiny little goblin. There's going to be a tiny little Venom climbing up a tiny little wall. Mm-hmm. That's where they're going to be.
That's so funny. Guys, we got about 3 more topics to discuss before the end of the show here. Thanks for sticking around and appreciate you watching. We do have Collector Joey in the chat. His ears must be burning.
Joe.
We were just talking about your video on customizing the eyepieces on that classic Spider-Man the other day. I just finally watched it. Really, really cool video. I think I want to try doing mine, but I'm a little bit nervous. So if I mess it up, I'm going to send it back to Joey for sure for a replacement. Don't do that. I'm just kidding. I love Joey. He's a really good guy. So, guys, I want to talk next briefly about this. Let me share my screen here. Perfect. There we go. Can you see that? Yeah, we can. Kojin Works. J&D is looking like they are throwing their hat in the ring when it comes to 6-scale collecting. And it's showing here that it looks like, anyways, the Joker may be the first version, the purple-suited Heath Ledger Joker that we've seen quite a few times now already from other companies. Now, I think up to a certain extent, J&D feels like they're playing in their own playground. I don't think that they're necessarily caring about what other 6-scale companies are doing. I also am curious how cheap the line for Heath Ledger, or like the likeness rights for Heath Ledger, must be getting if all these companies go after him first, while they clearly sell. Like, why this version every time? Why is this the one? Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker, is my favorite villain of all time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, being The Dark Knight. And while I love my InArt Jokers, there's still an aspect of the face on those that I don't think are totally perfect yet. Like, they haven't, even still to me at this point, completely nailed the likeness. So I'm still curious to see what J&D does here. I'm curious to see how good the likeness could be or might be. But I also understand that for us all, we're getting fatigued talking about Jokers. I don't know if I can go another whole year of comparing Joker to Joker to Joker again and keeping that interesting for everybody. So, Pete, I want to go with you first. What are your thoughts on J&D throwing their hat in the ring with regards to a Joker? Do you envision a price point attached to this, or a limited, maybe numbered run? How do you think this is going to come out to collectors?
I don't know. First of all, I can just say I'm so bored of Heath Ledger Joker. I'm not even I mean, I know you guys have got InArt, and to be honest, I don't see why you'd want to, you know, upgrade again. I don't know about the price. I mean, I know that they've just put up for pre-order their 3rd scale Indiana Jones and Henry Jones, and you're looking at, you know, $3,000 for India, or $5,000 for the set. So I can't imagine these are going to be cheap. There probably will be somewhere in the InArt price range. Obviously, if it's not a double pack, it's obviously going to be less money. But yeah, I think they're going to be up there. I think the price is going to be up there, and it's even if it is an improvement on the InArt, and I can't comment really because I'm not a big enough fan. I don't love the character enough to say. And I haven't seen the InArts in hand to know, you know, how good those sculpts are. I think everything else looks great on them, the rooted hair and the clothing and everything. But yeah, you know, there's always room for improvement on the sculpts. But it gets a little bit wearing when you constantly feel like you thought you'd got the best version, and then there might be another better version, and it's quite annoying really as a collector. And I see it. My experience of it is in the Indiana Jones custom market, where there's always another run, there's always another clothing run, there's always another better jacket. But you're starting to look at $800-900 for a leather jacket, and you know, I kind of get a bit jaded on it. And there's people that will commit and they will always upgrade to the next version. But I think having, you know, the amount of people that have shelled out the money that the InArt one, I'd be pretty annoyed if this looked even better, because then you'd be like, you'd want to hold InArt to say, well, why wasn't yours better? You charged, you know, $800 for this or whatever. And now someone's bought out one that's better, and I'm debating whether or not to sell one of mine to get this, and you know, and obviously we've got the Hot Toys one coming out as well. I wouldn't be as much as respect to you guys that love the character. I long for a day when we don't see another new version of Ledger Joker, but you know.
You and Dean would mix well on this one, because I know he's saying the same thing, you know, backstage and on stream as well, that like he's very fatigued of hearing about this guy. But you know, you talk about selling the InArt Joker. I've already seen now buy sell trade groups having the InArt Joker going on their sites for cheaper than what they were originally solicited for. Like, they've already taken a bit of a dive. So, and I just finished paying off my InArt Jokers on the credit card about a month ago. Like, you know, like, like I don't want to buy another one if I can avoid it. But,
no, I know. No.
But you're right in the sense of, you know, it is a little fatiguing to get the next better version, but if it
Yeah.
is better, I would still probably at least consider it. I would at least consider it. And Shiny has a great comment here. He says, I think J&D are exceptional because everything they make, even the really bad stuff like their Arwen, immediately sells out, and as soon as they go up for order, they have dedicated customers. And I think J&D knows that up to a certain extent as well. Obviously, based on their analytics, based on their sales, they know that in a lot of ways, especially if there's some level of limited number, exclusive versions, whatever, maybe it's a numbered collection like a statue, collectors will buy it. But I hope at the very least then that it's something that we haven't seen before. If, for example, they go the route of their statues, for example, and start making 1/6 scale, silicone faces, for example, ones that you have actual movement, how long will those last? If you spend $1,500 on a Heath Ledger silicone face, say, for example, if that's the route they go, how long will that last? None of us even know. Can you imagine a face degrading over a couple of years and you spent that kind of money? Like, again, I have no confirmation that would happen, but it could, and that would suck. So, the other thing that I thought was really funny, and it was actually Kiko over on Will's show on Friday that pointed it out, but it's the Joker font from the Joaquin Phoenix Joker film that is over top of this picture. Not any font to do with The Dark Knight. It's like the wrong Joker font. Yeah. And his point there was, if they don't know what Joker font to use, I don't trust them to make a better Heath Ledger version. So shout out to Kiko. That just made me laugh, and I had to bring that up here. Yeah. Thomas, what do you think of J&D throwing their hat in the ring? Are you excited about the possibility of just more 6-scale competition out there? Or do you think that this is going to even potentially price collectors out if the price point is even higher than what we've seen from
I'm
other
just
companies?
bored. Yeah, I'm bored. Yeah, there's nothing that I would want from J&D. I mean, not from this, because, all right, I've done a lot of work with silicone, and I purchase a lot in silicone, and I know you can do good jobs. For example, I mean, you've probably seen those infants, the little babies that they make out of silicone that look very lifelike, and they even have them now where they actually can kick their legs and feet, and they do look very lifelike. Yeah. Very creepy. So there's a lot that you can do.
Sorry, Thomas.
Go ahead.
I was walking into a Dollarama the other day, and this young had to only be 14-year-old girl, dropped one of those babies on the concrete in front of me, and I went, and she laughed and laughed and laughed. I was like, oh my God, you totally got me. I thought you dropped your baby. I was mortified. It just made me think of it. I apologize. Holy shit,
no
though.
problem.
And my friend that was with me was like, don't swear so much. You just swore so much in front of that 14-year-old girl. And I was like, I thought she killed her baby. Oh my God. Yeah, 100%. Oh, scared the shit out of me. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, that's all right.
Love it.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot you can do with silicone, but I don't know. They're at this point, if somebody, if they were going to do something that either had the silicone head and body, you're going to be dealing with a lot of things that you wouldn't if you. I mean, I love silicone bodies, but they can be difficult to dress. They can be a lot of times you have to make sure they're powdered down so that they don't stick to everything. They can get a little greasy from time to time. So there's upsides and downsides to everybody. Now you could wind up with a very good and realistic figure, but to be honest with you, after a while, I don't think that most of the head sculpts, unless it's just extremely terrible, is really that far off, because you know how collectors set from this angle you can see here. That's the way it is. The human face is not easy to capture in a sculpture because our faces are so unique. Our bone and body structures, they move. It's not easy to just collect it and make it look from every angle like it's just perfect. So I don't necessarily know that Kojin Works will do something that's going to be so exceptionally higher than everybody else's that I would need to do like like obviously some people are doing, and dropping their two pack and selling it for cheaper than you bought it. That's kind of nuts. I mean, I wish I'd known that before I bought mine, and I would have just waited for them to sell theirs and bought theirs off the thing. So yeah, I'm just bored, and I kind of wonder how much of this is them really being interested in providing collectors with a high quality 6-scale figure, or they just want to get or they just want to grab part of the market.
Interesting you say that, because I really like this comment from Collection Obsession. He says, I cringed a little when J&D chose the version of Joker, but I guess I can understand why J&D wants direct comparisons against other companies' Jokers. They must be very confident in their version. And yeah, I would say for sure. I think that was something that we even as a group of collectors asked about InArt. Like, why is InArt doing Superman again? Why is InArt doing some of these other figures that we've seen before, like Pennywise? We had just got the Hot Toys Pennywise. Why do another Pennywise? Unless you're going to be able to obviously make it better. And then all that shows very quickly to collectors is that, yeah, sorry, we're doing the same ones again, but at least you get a better version, right? And if J&D comes out with their first figure and it happens to be better than anything else on the market, then the only comparisons and scrutiny, I think, will be around pricing and the way they've released it and how fast they get it in people's collections, but not necessarily on the likeness to the character. If that can go out the window, that is still a win for them as a company. And then lastly here, Shiny says, the one thing Queen Studios says is silicone should last 25 years. That's a statue. And they also say silicone isn't supposed to be touched with your hands because of the oils. Not good for figures. And yeah, like for me, like, I don't know about you guys, I've never really been the type to wear like gloves with my figures, even the the silicone style body of like the Wonder Woman, for example. One of my favorite parts was feeling what that skin texture felt like. Like, I thought that was really cool. Some of you out there may say that I'm living dangerously.
I also like to live dangerously.
But yeah, it's hard to say how that will, what the final result of that will be. I know we're getting here to the end of the show. Pete, you're saying you're gonna jump it off. It's getting pretty late for you there, buddy.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything coming up on Only Fools and Collecting over at Collecting Weekly? We can look forward to hearing from you, buddy.
We just had a show last week, so that was a good one. We had Thomas on again. Always good to chat with Thomas. Yeah, it was a good show. We will be back on the 14th. 14th will be our last show before Christmas, and I think we're going to sort of take a month off then, because we hit right in the middle of Christmas, New Year. So,
Cool.
yeah, so kind of, and that'll be, I think, a couple of days after the. You might see me on the. Hopefully, you'll see me on the awards show on Collecting Weekly on the Tuesday night. I normally make an effort to set my alarm and get up for the awards. So you'll see me on there next, and obviously then on OFAC we'll kind of go through the results. And I think we probably know who's going to sweep the boards with most of the stuff, but
you'd be surprised. Zach said that might not actually be the case this year after seeing some of the voting come in. So
cool.
It could be a really interesting show in comparison to the past years. So
Excellent.
I'm curious.
Cool.
So yeah, that'd be good to see you there, buddy. But thanks for joining in, staying up late to chat and get nuts with everybody. We appreciate it,
guys. Yep.
We'll see you next week if you can make it, buddy.
Yeah,
So,
take
Sleep
care.
well.
Yeah, cheers, mate. See you later.
talk soon. Guys, with that said, we do have about 2 more figure news pieces that I want to get through before we wrap the show today. I appreciate the 30 people sticking around live.
Yeah,
Hope you're enjoying the show, guys. It's always good to hear you. Put nuts in the chat if you guys are having a fun time so far. Thomas, let's talk a little bit about this guy that popped up this week. The reason I want to talk about it, though, is maybe not for the same reason that others want to talk about. So, about a week ago on Hot Toys' solicitation Facebook page, they put up that Ahsoka line was not done yet, and that you could get excited, essentially, for some more exciting releases coming from the Ahsoka line. And to me, my brain starts running, because, the Ahsoka line's been pretty solid so far. We've seen the Thrawn, we've seen the Hera, we've seen the Chopper, we've seen, the Sabine. So maybe we're going to get Ezra. Maybe we're going to get finally a Shin or a Balin, right? Maybe we're going to get some of these other characters from the show that I really, really liked. And Captain Rex was the next release. Now, if you missed the show specifically, Thomas, Captain Rex does show up in Ahsoka for kind of about one scene. I want to say it's probably less than a minute, probably less than 30 seconds that we actually see him. It's in a bit of a, I want to call it like a dream sequence almost, in an afterlife scene with Ahsoka and Anakin. And you do get a chance to see Captain Rex kind of in the Battle of the Clone Wars, which is pretty cool. Right there, you see him in his Phase 1 armor, and in that 30 seconds of scene time, Ahsoka from Hot Toys, that line, has decided to give us another Rex. The question is, how many people actually want this now? Because the Phase 2 Rex, you can still actually buy that figure. He's still pretty available. It seems like they made a ton of them. And while I understand that there are a lot of figure collectors out there that, pretty exclusively collect, clone armors sort of thing, Rex specifically, I don't know how many of these you would need. It's not like you're going to army build Rexes necessarily,
Right.
but people had that Phase 1 helmet in their mind, right? They wanted that Phase 1 helmet. So my thinking was, in order for them, I say them being Hot Toys, to justify this release, they must have been able to punch the numbers. They must have known that as long as they sell a certain amount based on the margin, right? How much dollars they need to make versus how much they need to spend to make this, the return on investment still must have been good enough to be able to give it to us. But how many of us are all that excited about this versus it just feeling kind of like another filler figure at this point, when there are so many other characters from the show people want? So what are your thoughts on Rex here? Maybe this figure specifically, but also, do you think that collectors have a right to be a little bit frustrated with the fact that we haven't got some of these other really cool characters from the show yet, and we just got another Rex? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, collectors have every right to be upset about anything they want to be upset about. I enjoyed the Ahsoka series. I only caught the last 3 or 4 episodes, but it was fun. I think that I like the pretty blue. The blue looks really beautiful. But I'm like, well, if you're that upset, why not just buy some white armor and paint the blue on it yourself, and then you got your own Captain Rex. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell the difference between one white piece of armor and another, but that's me, who's not completely immersed in the culture of Star Wars like everyone else is. Now I know that other people will come and say, "Oh, it's because of this." I'm like, I still can't tell the difference. So there may be other. Now, for example, I did see the ones with the red ribbons and stuff woven all through them, and I was like, well, that might be interesting. Maybe do some different versions of the red pieces on them and stuff like that, and for people to make their own little Thrawn army or something like that. But I must have missed the episode where he was in. Because
Well,
I don't,
again, you might have just gone and got a snack or taken a pee for 30 seconds and missed it. Like it didn't take much to miss this scene. I'm not going to lie.
So it's not like I have any real connection, but it just looks like another white piece of armor that they painted blue stuff on.
For sure. I think for me, my takeaway, buddy, with this is more along the lines of their tease again around Ahsoka releases. Like, if we get more, if we still get a Balin, if we still get really any of the other characters that were more interesting, I think I'll still be totally cool with this. We talked about cash injections earlier. I'm in the type of business where we have to do a certain amount of a certain type of sale in order to kind of float our business to be able to do other more risky style business, right? And this is still pretty safe. Again, I think that they can make this very cheap in terms of where their margin needs to be. I'm sure they know how many they have to sell to make it profitable. So it's a bit of a filler. It's a bit of a stopgap. It keeps people buying while they have the opportunity to still get likeness rights from other characters, like maybe the actress that plays Shin Hati or any of those others. as long as this just isn't the last, though. I think that's where I'd be frustrated, because there are some other characters that I really, really want. But guys,
Or
let
the
us know.
sisters, the sisters with the red robes.
They were creepy as hell, for sure. I don't know if I'd collect them, but it would be cool to see them in figure format. That's for sure.
That would be kind of cool.
But yeah, guys, let us know. Were you excited about this this release, or do you kind of echo how I'm feeling? That like, sure, it's fine, but what about the other people? Let us know what you guys think, for sure. That's a great comment from Chris Selfridge. Thank you for this. He says, "Thank you for covering Star Trek. I started collecting once I saw your coverage on 6-Scale Mafias. I already bought Quark, Captain Benjamin Sisko, and Locutus Borg. Deep Space Nine rocks." That is, I very much appreciate hearing that. Whenever I make those videos, you always kind of hope that even 10 people watch, let alone that it helps people make decisions for their own collections. I feel proud of that. So thank you very much for that really lovely comment. It's very appreciated. You told me so earlier. I know,
I'm always right.
You get stuck in your head. You don't know if your content is good. So no, I appreciate that, man. That's really cool of you to say. Last thing I want to talk about today before we wrap the show is a little tease we got from InArt on the left there, Classy. It's a picture of them holding up a stay tuned photo of Christian Bale. And on the right hand side, I've put a photo of the most recent Christian Bale that we're getting from Hot Toys, the newest Bat Armory version that also comes with the kind of more statuesque version of him crossing his arms for kind of out front of that little display piece. And I gotta say, I actually think the sculpt, just this tease of sculpt from the InArt side, looks like a better likeness to Christian Bale, even though it's not actually painted yet, than the one we're seeing from the right side, from the Hot Toys version. But I will also say that I am feeling a little bit fatigued when it comes to Christian Bale's. For my own display, I typically display the cowled versions. And while I do like Bale as a Bruce Wayne, as a Batman, I think he did a great job. It's not like the one that I'm waiting for. If I was going to wait for InArt to do a figure, it wouldn't be Bale specifically. It would be other characters out there that exist that I'd rather them see, including, and actually Tremble just literally just said it as I was about to, the Batman Begins. I would love to see them do a Batman Begins version of the Batsuit, because Hot Toys has now had their opportunity 2 times, 3 times, at least two times, and missed the mark. Forcing collectors to have to customize, forcing them to have to buy, like Eddie, our buddy Eddie Manny Mendez over on Collecting Weekly, he got the Batman Begins figure and immediately went out and purchased a custom cowl and a custom cape to go on that figure, which is like 1/3, 2/3 of the whole figure's value. Replacing it immediately seems like bonkers in my mind. But Hot Toys didn't improve, so what do you expect? I'd rather see InArt do something like that than the Bale. But what do you think of InArt going down the Christian Bale route? Is it something that excites you, or is it are you kind of lukewarm on that? What are your thoughts?
I'm bored. I'm bored. Yeah, I'm like, there's so many properties that they could go after, and it's just low hanging fruit to constantly go after the Dark Knight, the Dark Knight, the Dark Knight, the Dark Knight, the Dark Knight. I mean, if you're going to copy something, at least copy something else. Maybe they're trying to stick with this line so they can maybe complete a line or something. I don't know what their purpose is, but I'm bored with it. I mean, I'm glad I have my InArt Joker, because that's the only Heath Ledger Joker that I own. I don't have the Hot Toys. I don't have the third part. Well, I do have a third party one that I just picked up and it was like super cheap. But this is the only one that I own that's legitimate to me. So I'm kind of like, I don't need anything else. And I would love to purchase something from InArt, because I like their company and I like what I've received. I can't say I like what they've been putting out, because they barely put out anything, but they appear to be like a company that really puts out high quality stuff with high quality accessories, and that I can respect, and I wouldn't mind putting some of my money behind them, but they're not putting out anything that I want to buy.
Absolutely.
And they put out that nice Christopher Reeves. We haven't seen him in a while. That's kind of cool. But so I think that last night on Mafia's stream, they were talking about putting out things, and Lael had brought up, why not bring out a Linda Carter, Wonder Woman? Now, of course, they discuss and say, well, a lot of people may not be familiar with this particular iteration of Wonder Woman, so it might be difficult. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but
But it would put it in so many people's collections.
Exactly.
So many. It would like because 12-inch Moose Stream is obviously teasing you here a little bit. It says, I'm so excited that Classy Thomas is bored. But the reason that I ask these questions is because I think that that's the sentiment of a lot of collectors right now. It's like, really? Like another one? Like, okay. Like, but what about the wealth of characters that exist in the comics and the movies and the shows and all of the different media that we consume and love? What about all those ones? Why do we keep going back to the well here
and doing the same thing over and over again?
Right, and I think you hit on that point really well, Thomas. The other thing, when you think of even about the bat suit, is like even Hot Toys, right? When they released their DX19, everybody was like, "Wow, that's like the most accurate version of the Bale suit now that you've seen." And then Hot Toys came out with the Armory Batsuit and did direct photo comparisons of how much better the Armory suit version was to their previous DX9 version, effectively devaluing their previous version. Like, just like the Chrome Mando did with the Beskar Mando. Like, same tactic, which blows me away. It's like undercutting your own self at the knees. Wow. But the point there is that, like, even Hot Toys has dialed in this suit now so well that I'd be curious to see how much better InArt could even do the suit.
Yeah.
It would have to be more of the likeness of Christian Bale that would win. But even then, how many people actually display their Batman with the Christian Bale head versus the cowl? Maybe more than I think, but I feel like I doubt that. So
if he's out doing his bat duty, he's going to have his cowl on. I mean, probably the only time you're going to see him, like in this photo right here, is when he's sitting around the bat cave, drinking a Pepsi, sitting on the bat computer, pulling up bat statistics. Yep. That's the only time he's not wearing his cowl.
Exactly.
All the rest of the time he's got it on.
Exactly. And he doesn't have the black painted eyes, which after watching the Pattinson Batman makes me realize how silly that is that none of the previous Batmans have not had makeup around their eyes. Because clearly he does too in the movie, and you just never get a chance to really see that.
That's right.
So, guys, that is the show for today. I want to remind everybody that this evening on Nix_Collectibles YouTube channel is 16 Mania at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sounds like I'm in a tag team with Jose Plus or Jose G. Hernandez. We're repping the Let's Get Nuts t-shirts and logos. We will win whoever we fight. I'm confident of that. But definitely go over and check that out and support Nick, because I know that those shows take a ton of work to set up. So I'm hoping it is as funny as it always is. I'm sure it will be, though, for sure. To everybody that stuck around, thank you so much. I want to just highlight one more time some of the member benefits now available on the Ben Thomas Show. $1.99, less than a Timmy Hortons coffee there. If you're interested, you can get these custom emojis for your chat. The Jumbo specifically nut, the can of nuts, or the LGN. As well as member badges. So if you've been a member for 0 to 6 months, you'll be a tough nut to swallow on the left. As soon as you hit the 6 month plus, if you want to stick with me that long, you'll become a Dark Knight. Or a dark nut.
Yeah, and don't forget, like and subscribe, guys.
Definitely appreciate that,
subscribe.
Guys. I think these are pretty fun. I'm going to subscribe to myself here, or become a member myself, so I can rock the Batman nut at least in 6 months. Because I can't give it to myself. I have to pay for it myself. So away she goes. But of course, as well, on the YouTube channel, I do have a link to TeePublic. So if you're interested in getting any Let's Get Nuts t-shirts, sweaters, mugs, all of the stuff, I say wait for a sale when it's full price. In my opinion, it's a little too pricey, but they have sales all the time, 30-40% off. Definitely check that out. I don't get too much from it, but I think it's just fun to think about people out in the world wearing Let's Get Nuts shirts out there. I think that's kind of fun. But guys, I love your faces. Classy Thomas, I'm glad you're feeling better, buddy. Thanks for getting the stuff shipped out to me. I'm going to be using that as a new this week whenever it eventually comes. So I'm excited about that. Is there anywhere else we can find you? Anything else you're rocking that you wanted to highlight before we get out of here?
Mainly just on After Dark on CW. So I am hoping this week now that I've got my red chair in, I'm hoping to sit down and actually make a little bit of content that I can put on the channel. So that's my goal. I'm crossing my fingers for that. So hopefully you guys will see a little something coming from me very, very soon.
Awesome, buddy. And of course, again, it's always a pleasure having you. I love your opinions and your real take. You tell me when you're bored of a figure. I appreciate that just the same.
I'm just bored with it.
Yep,
Do
absolutely.
something different.
Guys, we still have 26 people here. I love your faces. We will catch you next Sunday on Let's Get Nuts. I would say, though, Thomas, as always, we got nuts.
What?
We'll catch you on the next one, everybody.
Wow, what a great audience. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because subscribing makes you feel good.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and